24th. So today we're going to go through the warrant for the annual town meeting. Make favorable, unfavorable recommendations to the articles that we can. The articles that we can't, maybe we have time to seek additional information before the meeting. And let's get right into it. Now, is the whole budget's on here, right, Jessica?
Yes.
The omnibus?
Not the line-by-line budget, that will come in the finance book. This
Okay.
is just the
Are you
warrant.
talking about that?
Okay.
Can we get a copy of that before the?
I thought we were gonna go over the
Finance
finance.
book?
I thought we were gonna go over the budget this week too.
The budget hasn't changed from last time.
The budget hasn't changed?
Yeah,
Okay.
because of the school.
The school is really the only thing that we're waiting on at this point, and their meeting isn't until Thursday. So
Okay.
we won't have anything updated from the schools until then. And I know that at least one other town has already published their warrant, because there's one other town in the district that has their annual town meeting before us. And they are recommending to their townspeople to vote a different number than what the school has presented. So, we will probably end up in a similar
Could you
situation.
send me a copy of what you've got for the numbers?
Oh,
'Cause I
another
don't-
one?
I don't have mine.
Okay, yeah, I can.
I had gotten them, but in the moving, because I'm in Barre now.
Oh, okay.
I don't
In the
have
file.
it. I don't know where it
In the
is.
file.
Okay,
And
yeah.
rather than having to go through everything.
In the boxes.
Yeah, no, I'll email
It'd be
another.
easier if you could just email me and it'll.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. So.
All right.
Plug that email
Corey, you're with us, right? There we go.
Yeah, I don't care.
Great. Now, before we get into this, do you guys have any questions on what we're gonna do, Lee or Corey? Going through, so we're gonna go through, wait, these are the articles, each of the articles that are gonna appear on the annual town meeting on the 14th. So the select board and the finance committee both give the town recommendations of the articles. So that basically, that way the voters can use those recommendations to help decide how they want to vote. If anyone actually pays attention to those or not,
Don't go there.
maybe some folks do.
Don't go
So a lot of these articles are related to items that we've already discussed or information we already have before. So we'll get right into it here with Article 1, which is the Water Enterprise Fund. And they're going to be looking for a motion. I'm missing the other piece. Hang on. I'm missing the other piece. Dun, 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 dun. I have Sandy's piece, but I don't have, this is the piece I'm looking for. So this is gonna see if the town will raise an appropriate borrow transfer from water receipts, a sum of money for the operation and maintenance of municipal water for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, or to take any action relative thereto. It's basically accepting the water enterprise budget that was presented to us.
Now, have you got that number there?
I can get it, yes, I do
Because
have it.
it'd be good if I had it right.
Yep, absolutely.
Right on this one piece of paper.
Let me do
Right.
this. Let me-
Yeah, again, the numbers haven't changed
Yeah.
since.
And that's gonna be the budget that we went through on May 10th.
Yep, and it's also included in the general budget sheet that I've sent out. It's on a different tab.
So the water enterprise budget that was requested was a 2.89% increase, and the dollar amount was $493,000 and $493,831.
Sorry, say that one more time.
$493,831 was the requested, and that's a 2.8% increase over FY '22. FY '22 was $479,941.
And that's just a transfer from water receipts.
Yep.
Correct.
So it's
is coming. Ready for me?
I'm ready for a motion.
You just listed this one, Dan, the 493, 831.
Correct, that's the request for FY
Yep.
'23.
I'll make a motion, we have favorable action on Article 1.
I'll second that.
And motion to accept favorable action of Article 1 FY 2023 Water Enterprise Fund. All in favor?
All right?
Hi.
So that's everyone, that's 7-0 favorable. Moving on to the sewer, Article 2 FY 2023 Sewer Enterprise Budget. We have sewer enterprise budget is actually a negative?
Yeah, so it was because they took out the, $50,000 for that pickup truck, so that was a pretty significant decrease.
How are they gonna handle,
What?
how are they gonna handle it,
Handle what?
being in a negative?
Like a budget decrease?
It's a budget decrease,
Oh, it's-
so,
okay.
so last year in the budget, we had, funded them $60,000 for a pickup truck. That's already been allocated, right, in a revolving?
So it's not in a revolving, but we are gonna have to roll the $50,000 over because they didn't purchase that
Mm-hmm.
truck. So actually, it's the $60,000. We're gonna have to roll over into this next fiscal year, because they weren't able to purchase the truck.
And then they're adding an additional $10,000 to
Because-
cover the price difference.
Yes.
To make it to 70,000. So in the budget, they're basically looking at the pickup truck as a line item rather than an article item.
Yes.
And because we was it town meeting or special meeting, we allocated that as raise and appropriate rather than coming from a particular fund. So when you look at last year's budget with that 60,000 for the pickup truck in there versus this year, it's only $10,000. So there an overall budget decrease. The sewer department's looking for $654,708. And that is a negative 6% increase overall against last fiscal year.
And then there's also the additional $143,000 for the indirect costs.
Correct. So the indirect costs, which we
So
should,
everything that we pay out of the general budget, they basically send us a check to offset those costs in our general budget.
and so the total for sewer will be $797,749 with 20 cents. And again, that's gonna be a decrease of 5.39% compared to FY '22.
797.
797,749.20.
Okay. Make a motion, we have favorable action on Article 2.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to accept favorable action on Article 2, FY 2023 Sewer Enterprise Budget. All in favor? Aye. That's a full 7 favorable. All right, we're off to Article 3, FY 2023 Transfer from Ambulance Receipts. Do we have that number?
The number from ambulance receipts,
Correct.
475,000.
Yeah, that's on the...
Yep. Oh,
Yeah.
you know what, that's,
That's okay.
I'm in the wrong spot, that's fine.
Yeah, you don't even actually need that, I guess.
Yeah, you know, I downloaded this thing, and it's not showing, so. There it is. $475. Any discussion around, I mean, I think the fire chief, Rogowski, summed up pretty well how the ambulance receipts are gonna be used. Any questions around this?
I can just let everybody know that the impact to the taxpayer will then be, the budget for the ambulance department will be $238,473 after we transfer the
Right.
receipts.
And the proposed overall for ambulance is what, 700?
713,470.
And that includes the 2 additional associates that they're looking to fund.
Yeah, it includes the 2 additional employees, and then it also includes, we added a portion of the fire chief salary into this department this year as well. So that's sums up where the increases come from.
Do we have a motion?
I have a motion, favorable action on Article 3.
I'd second.
So we have a motion and a second to accept favorable action on Article 3, FY 2023, transfer from ambulance receipts reserved. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 7-0 favorable. And then here we are, we're on to the Article 4, omnibus.
And this includes everything except for the schools.
So this is the overall budget. Pretty much everything that we've worked on to this point. Do we have, at this point in the process, do we have any questions or discussion on the budget excluding the school numbers?
Well, in the past, we voted each individual line. I don't
Yeah.
know if that's something we want to do. I
I
mean,
was gonna,
but
so we have a sheet,
we've agreed,
each,
we've approved it all. Well, no, we haven't
and it's
really-
put in the warrant.
haven't really voted.
What, is it gonna be in the finance committee booklet?
The whole budget will be in the
It will
finance
be in
there.
booklet, but
Yeah.
since I've been here, it's just been one big
But as far as the
motion.
finance committee voting, we voted.
Yeah.
line
I
by
don't,
line.
I don't think,
Yeah.
since I've been here,
No?
but I don't think so.
By department,
Yeah, by department. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
we always did.
But anyway, we voted, I guess we
So
agreed
that
on it.
we saw it,
We can
and it was
certainly,
printed right.
I'm not opposed to that, absolutely. I mean, we can certainly go through the budget. Can we do that? Because the budget was already been in there as old business. You don't have a copy, who doesn't have are we able to get Claire a copy of the budget?
Do you mind?
Could we take
No, I'm just trying to think where I have
a recess?
it. Can you email it to me and I'll go print it out?
We can skip,
Skip two.
we can skip over the omnibus.
All right, just one copy, anybody else?
Anybody else need a copy of the budget? You need a copy?
Am I allowed to have a copy?
That's gonna cost you, Sam, it's,
Yeah.
Besides the cost. But
Yeah,
I know I was legally allowed,
20 cents.
being a citizen and a taxpayer at this point. I don't want any special favors.
We
Good.
know.
we'll see what she comes back with. I'm only kidding. All right, let's skip over,
Yes.
Article 4.
the omnibus, let's skip over schools at this point. We'll come back to schools, okay?
Yeah.
We'll move on to Article 6, which is the Peg Access Cable Related Fund. I feel that this is a rather common occurrence, and I believe that was 25,000, correct?
Correct.
Mhm.
25,000. Any questions, comments, concerns? And this is just to help clarify for all of us, because I vaguely remember this. This is the online, not the online, but the public access television channel.
Yep, so this pays for the meeting being recorded right now
Mhm.
and broadcasted live. So it's public education and government.
And this is an annual cost. It's in the,
It's a fee that is assessed to all cable users that Spectrum Charter gives to the town for us to spend on this purpose.
Mhm.
any other questions on this Article 6? Should we make a motion?
Will this cover the new system we're gonna have?
So we're gonna just do
How do you
Zoom
think?
for now.
What do you think?
And I've thought about that too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a huge expense to the town, so I haven't put it at like the top of my list
Right.
to figure out, but I think it will
Yeah.
cover that fee, the annual fee for using
For
Zoom.
zooming in,
Yeah.
okay. I'll make a motion, we accept or have favorable action on Article 6.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second for favorable action on Article 6, PEG access and cable-related funds. All in favor? Aye. Article 7, revolving funds. This is by the Board of Selectmen to see what spending limits the town will establish for revolving established pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and 1/2, and the town's bylaws, Chapter 48, Section 1, for fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021, or take any action relative thereto.
This is another one that we always got the sheet. when
Yeah,
we
it will
voted
be in
until-
the booklet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I
we
mean,
always, when we vote on it.
I know.
So for next year,
well,
make sure. we-
every other year, we've been voting right before the public hearing, or right before the town meeting, so all those materials were available.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like voting on something.
They haven't changed from last year,
No.
that's the
But-
only thing I can say.
Check last year.
Memory from last year's, you don't remember every single thing.
We can always table any article you don't want to vote on, and we can, for more information, and
I like to see numbers before I vote on them. We always have.
yeah, we don't have the numbers on the revolving.
I can pull up the numbers from last year.
And they haven't changed. Because see, sometimes over the years, they have,
Mhm.
it's been a typo error,
Mhm.
and you catch it.
I didn't bring it with me. I just cleaned my backpack out. I had that big book from last year,
Yeah.
that paper copy. I think I have it on email as well.
You don't want it to be wrong and then have the townspeople say,
These are,
I think probably the problem is that the departments that have these forget about them, and then they don't grow, and then when they do need to use them, they're like, oh, I only can spend $50,000 for a vehicle that now costs $70,000.
yeah.
So. So we have the library, which is the revenue source is from library printing and photocopying fees. The use of the fund is to be used on operation or maintenance of the copier and printers in the library. Has a spending limit of $2,000. Another one for the library is the revenue source is decertified library user fees and charges. And the use of the funds is to be used on operation and purchase of replacement materials, spending limit $2,000. Board of Health, the revenue source is perk test fees and disposal work, construction permits, food permits, and pool permits. And they can use those funds to be used to pay one of the members or designated agent for inspections associated with the said test and permits, with a spending limit of $11,000. The electrical inspector, he's allowed to charge fees, for different permits. And those can be used to, on payment of all charges and fees related to the electrical expenses and electrical inspector fees, with a spending limit of $50,000. The plumbing inspector similar to the electrical inspector, can be used on payment of all charges and fees related to plumbing expenses and plumbing inspector fees, limit of $7,000. Gas inspector, same as the previous two, with a limit of $4,000. The police department has several. The first one, the fees come from civilian firearm safety classes, and those can be used on administrative costs, such as instructor pay and expenses related to the cost of the classes, with a limit of $10,000. The next one is the revenue comes from detail admin fees and other cruiser fees, a third of them, to be used for canine cruiser replacement, with a spending limit of $50,000. The next one for the police department is from the contractual revenue we receive from the Barre Falls Dam, which can be used for a cruiser replacement and a spending limit of $50,000. The fourth one for the police department is the other 2/3 of detail admin fees and cruiser fees that can be used on the payment of administrative costs and cruiser repair, as well as replacement costs, with a spending limit of $16,000. The fire department has burning permit fees that can be used on the purchase of or replacement of brush, fire, forest fire equipment, with a spending limit of $3,000. And then we have a technology fee from permit and licenses that the different various town departments can charge, and this can be used on payment of software fees for purchasing and software upgrades and equipment, with a spending limit of $20,000. And the Council on Aging is allowed to use program fees and events fees to be used for program and event costs, with a spending limit of $2,000.
And those fees have been the same for 2020, 2021, and 2022.
Yes, pretty much.
Uh,
I think the only ones that we should keep an eye on are going to be the cruiser ones, but it's my understanding that they're still probably a full year away from being able to purchase a cruiser out of that. So,
Yeah, with the prices going up on things.
Oh, the price is going up on everything.
everything.
But then the fees will probably go up to compensate for them.
Our fees generally don't change, and I think that's a common problem in municipalities, is that the fees tend to kind of stay stagnant, costs go up, and then we have a gap.
Yeah,
We just, 2 years ago, I think they increased, right?
Yes, yeah, a couple years ago, they did kind of modernize some of the fees that were
Yep.
way out of line, but I think there's other areas of improvement.
Is that satisfactory? Are you good with that, Claire?
Yep.
Okay. And does anybody else have any questions on the revolving funds?
I had to be 4 minutes so I could figure the pages.
Well, thank you very much for doing that.
Do you,
Okay.
Print out principles.
All right. I don't know, do we already have a motion on Article 7?
No, I'll make a motion, we have favorable action on Article 7.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second, favorable action on Article 7 revolving funds. All in favor? Aye. 7-0.
so this is fave,
Yep.
Article 6?
On,
More of the same, yeah, right?
well, this is.
This is a little bit different.
change, yeah, so the police chief's looking to, the new police chief is not gonna move forward with a K-9 unit.
Right.
So that's the
And the-
$50,000
Correct, and he,
you just mentioned?
yes. So he's gonna eliminate the revolving fund under that and transfer existing funds into the Barre Falls Dam revolving fund.
Yes, to make it just one.
One
One
revolving
cruiser
fund
account.
for one cruiser. So right now, there is two revolving funds, one for a potential K-9 cruiser and one for a regular replacement cruiser. So these funds are all gonna go toward just the single cruiser.
And that fund will be capped at what, 100,000?
I believe 50, I just had it.
50 is the spending limit. I don't know if there's actually any limit on how much we can accumulate in the account.
Right.
I just know that in one fiscal year, they can only spend a certain dollar amount.
And that's a good point, Brian.
It's interesting, though.
Yeah.
I know that they're not at 50,000 yet.
No,
even
no.
when we
You know,
transfer the
but if
money.
they should
Right.
start going up, there
Well,
should be a cap.
As soon
I
as soon
think.
as they hit enough to buy a cruiser, they're buying a cruiser.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
Both of those accounts are for a cruiser.
Yes.
Correct, yeah.
So we're just gonna break it down to one account.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, so all the detail administrative fees and cruiser fees will roll into the Barry Fall.
Yep.
There'll basically be one revolving account now to just fund a replacement cruiser.
Right.
But we're not gonna set the spending fee? Or-
I believe the spending fee needs to be set by the select board according to how the language here
Right, I
is.
mean, like you were talking about, we need to.
Yeah.
It says, the spending limits the town will establish for revolving accounts will be established pursuant to Mass General Law and the town bylaws, chapter 48, section 1. So I believe we've already met those limits that have been proposed,
Okay.
hopefully. And do we have a motion?
Motion,
Article
favorable
8.
action on Article 8?
I'll second it.
All right, so we have a motion and a second for favorable action on Article 8 revolving funds. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Great, 7-0. Article 9, FY 2022 snow removal overtime part-time account. This is to see if the town will raise and appropriate borrow transfer from available funds a sum of money
Not yet.
to the fiscal year 2022 snow removal overtime part-time account or take any other action relative thereto. Does the town have, do we have the funds? Like, what was the dollar amount on the OT?
$25,077.
$25,077.
And so Jean is recommending that we raise this article and the next article on the recap, so we're still trying, we talked about this today, and we're still trying to figure out what the impact is going to be on the tax rate and the budget.
All right, so we're
I propose that we skip over this at the moment
gonna, yeah.
and skip over Article 10 at the moment. We'll come back to that either at this meeting or the next meeting.
Now, do they have a definite number on free cash?
It's negative.
Negative
Still,
300.
it hasn't.
It's not gonna change
It's
till
not
November.
gonna change, yeah, no.
It's not- we're gonna need a special for some of
And
these.
why did it exactly go negative?
Because the chapter 90 paperwork wasn't filed in an appropriate
I
time.
thought that's what someone had told me.
Yeah.
but I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Do we wanna go back? Do we wanna move forward, go through this, and then come back? I'll do whatever the committee chooses, or do we wanna go back to Article 4 at this point? Or do we wanna go through the whole book, then come back around to Article 4?
What's-
Oh,
what's
yeah.
that for?
The budget.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's this,
oh, good job.
right here.
Yeah, go,
Well, I haven't had time to speed read this.
Well, it hasn't changed.
So I guess we're gonna go with it.
You wanna move to Article 4 and review? We wanna go line by line through
What do you think, Claire,
the budget? Is that,
as a senior member?
I like the idea. We can go, well, I wouldn't say
Go
line by
through
line,
it.
but maybe department by department.
department by department is what we did. And then it gives you a chance to really look at it as a group on the changes.
Absolutely. All right.
Glorious.
And there's been no changes on the budget, Jessica, right? So we have, just to make sure we're all clear here, we have, in the first dollar of the general operating budget, we have FY 22's budget, Then we have the FY 2023, the department requests. Then we have FY 23 town administrator recommendation. And then the percentage change, and the percentage change is over your recommendation, correct, Jessica? All right, so we will see what the recommendation is versus the department on some of these may vary a little bit. All right. We can kind of, we'll go through the easy ones, kind of speed down, start top to bottom. We'll go up the gray lines, right, for the bottom line of each department. Moderator stipend, $50. Everyone good with that?
Motion of favorable, yeah.
Or we do a motion on everything else?
Well, I don't know,
Or we
no.
can go
We'll
through.
group them together. Or not. By page. We don't want to do it by line.
Well, you can, yeah.
I know we didn't do this last year, just so you know, when I joined. We didn't go through department by department to vote on it. I agree, I like the principle, I wish
Yeah.
we did.
And it, rips it up.
Well, especially when the ones that are different.
Yeah,
The ones that are
The ones that aren't,
recommended,
are-
versus the request. That's the ones that I'd, be interested in taking a vote on.
Let's,
What do you think?
unless you
So it
just
doesn't
we're gonna
seem
put
like you
Sandy
need
to work today.
go over them all and then just do the motion,
on
you know,
entire
the
budget.
top, well.
How about this?
Say moderator, select board,
Yeah,
FinCom.
how about this, we'll go through,
Yeah.
we'll have if there's any discussion on any of the departments, further discussion, we'll have the discussion. If we need to pull that out and have a separate vote, but the goal will be to vote the
Yeah.
overall budget after we go through.
Yeah.
And if okay, so just like a town meeting, if we want to pull it out,
Yeah,
we'll pull it out and we'll have a further
Yeah,
discussion.
that's good.
Okay?
Good.
So again, we'll start at the top here. Town moderator, $50 stipend. All good there.
all good.
Select board is level funded at, pretty much level funded at $134,694.15.
Good.
Finance committee expenses, $1,000. Reserve funds, $10,000. The accounting department has a 3% increase, and I would just like to note that these figures do not include COLA. Correct. A 3% increase for $107,177.
That's good.
Board of Assessors is a decrease for the town administrator's recommendation. And that was because there's a new assessor, if I'm correct, and there's a position that's not being filled at the moment.
Correct.
So therefore,
Is there a reason for that? Is that gonna stand or are they gonna look for one?
Nope, because the working assessor is a member of their elected board, and the current makeup of the elected board does not afford them, any of the members, to work in the office.
Oh, okay, good.
so that's a decrease of 11% to that
But
department.
they're not allowed to make a change in their recommendation
What do you
somewhere
mean?
along the way? They're agreeing with this, so why
Right.
wouldn't,
Well, that was just the first department request,
okay,
and then we move forward and this change happened, so,
right.
yeah.
But it sounds like,
Like I
you
took
might have
something
cut,
away.
you might have cut the money, but they
Yeah.
agreed to it, so, just.
Well, they're definitely in agreement
Yes.
to that.
I know that.
So maybe next year's, that line item might be off of there.
Right,
Yeah.
It could go back,
It won't be there.
it could go back the other way, or
And then it could-
Okay.
may not
Go
be.
ahead.
Yep.
Or it's the first year that they're doing that.
Any other questions on the Board of Assessors? Good.
Nope, that's good.
Great. Treasurer collector, so about a 1% overall increase. There's no certification stipend this year, right? And the,
Now, you said they're not getting COLA, so what's
well,
the
COLA's not
3%?
included in these figures.
Or what's the 3%? increase.
It's a,
Those are step increases.
those are step increases, yep. And I think those were discussed when, they presented.
Yep. Okay,
If it could be
good.
on
Legal is down, -5%.
Gonna make that work.
Tax title expense, there's no funding to that account for this fiscal, so that's down 100,000, but that's a revolving account, so that 10,000 carries over, and they're able to use those funds. So that might be a line where they're gonna have to refund that again next budget cycle.
Yeah.
Technology sees a 10% increase. And this does have, Jessica, can you just explain a little bit, because that increase is higher than the initial?
Yes, so we had some software that wasn't accounted for in the initial request.
So overall, that account is 72,396, a 10% increase over FY '22. Any questions? Okay.
Okay.
Moving on to the town clerk. Town clerk has a big increase because I know the election expense, right? It's a big one. We're coming up on primaries
Yeah, we have primaries and the midterms,
and midterms. So that brings that up.
and we're probably gonna have to have a couple, maybe 2 special town meetings this year because of the school budget, so
Mm-hmm.
that'll be another expense.
And then there's some more step increases here on the salaries. So they're up from 129,803 to 173,981. Good?
Yep.
Conservation expenses, level funded, $1,000. Planning board, level funded, $4,100. Zoning board, slight increase, step increase for the land use admin secretary. They're up 3%, 19,565.
Okay.
Town buildings, level funded. Central purchasing, essentially level funded.
What's up?
Nope.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Police department, that was a big discussion for us. That's adding the full-time officer, change of titles, new CBA, new chief.
Not even new CBA, this is like, yeah,
Oh, they don't even have.
everything else. The next year is gonna be
next-
the CBA.
Okay. So lots of changes. The good thing is there's no immediate change to the OT. And we should eventually see, OT, fingers crossed. You see it,
We don't promise.
you can't really make promises on that, but the PT should be coming down as they cycle out and go to only full-time associates, I would imagine. That is a 10% increase, 81,850 over FY '22.
Yeah, I think we agreed with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
They, one of those revolving accounts, did some of that go to cruiser maintenance?
Yes, I believe some of it went to cruiser maintenance, but I don't know the breakdown of how much they use out of that account, or if they use it, I wanna say they will only use it in an emergency, so if we have like, an unexpected thing happen to the cruiser
Yeah.
that's not covered by insurance, that's when they would dip into that revolving fund,
Mhm.
because it's not necessarily a source of, an account that kind of builds up very quickly. So they use it for emergency.
And that's that's 2/3 of the detailed administrative fees and cruiser fees is to be used for administrative costs and cruiser repair or replacement costs, up to $16,000 for that account.
Do you know how much is in that account right now?
The revolving account?
Yeah,
I don't know how much money is in any of the revolving accounts.
that would be interesting.
Well, we know it can't exceed 16,000, right?
They can't
They
exceed
can't
spending.
spend.
Oh,
more
spend
than
In one
16,000.
year.
But what is in these revolving accounts that's over,
That's a great point.
over their limit?
Yeah, we could get that information.
Yeah, I had
Yeah.
asked, talked to Jean today about what's in
Yeah.
the revolving accounts, so.
Okay.
Jim should be able to get that.
Yeah, that would be good information to get at least quarterly or semi-annual or something like
To
that.
see
Yeah.
what is actually in there.
I agree with that. Fire department, so the fire department overall 2% increase. Now, there is a shift, right? Because the fire chief's salary is now spread out amongst a couple different departments.
Correct.
There's a little bit of an increase. They did a new, the salaries, right? They have a new contract in place.
Yep, so they have a new contract in place, and what the chief did here this year is that he actually moved, because his fire inspector was paid out of the ambulance and the fire department, but this year he moved that employee's full salary to the fire department line, because that's kind of where the majority of his work falls.
Where was the other portion of the fire inspector before?
The ambulance services.
Okay, was that its own line before or no?
No,
Okay,
it was in the.
it was lumped in with the salaries, okay. Any questions on the fire? Ambulance services, we talked to Chief Rogowski on ambulance services. And we also talked about the ambulance receivable earlier. Their overall increase is 27%, but that's gonna bring on 2 new associates, which is hoped to be offset with ambulance revenues.
Now, how are we balancing out with the revenues from the ambulance and the expenses?
I don't understand your question.
What it's costing us to run the ambulance and what the money is
Oh,
coming in?
yeah, I had mentioned that when we went over the Article 3.
Right.
It is $239,000 to the taxpayer.
Yeah, so the town receives 475,
Costing us.
yeah, 239,000 altogether.
Because originally the ambulance was supposed to be self-sufficient.
They are no more.
Not
That
anymore.
was way,
Not
way,
anymore
you
anyway.
know.
Yeah, I don't even think the private ambulances are self-sufficient anymore, and that's why they're all closing, so.
They're awful.
And that includes, in the 475, that includes the Hardwick
Yes,
fees?
yes.
Now, the monies we get from Hardwick, it goes right into our ambulance fund, or is
It
it
goes
put
in-
into the general fund?
No, it goes into the ambulance receipts.
And then that's transferred by the article
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
the fund, so.
Yeah.
Any further questions on ambulance? Building departments level funded. Regional building program level funded. Emergency management, this is where we see the salaries part of the fire chief's salary.
Correct.
That's why this would be another increase here. And then a slight increase to the overall emergency management expense. So it's a big increase percentage-wise, but it's because they're splitting it out now amongst 3 different departments for the fire chief's salary. Regional animal controls level funded. Dispatch fee 2% increase. Tree warden level funded. Schools we're gonna skip over at the moment. Town roads and highway, a 3% increase. Most of that increase is to salaries and overtime.
And the other thing that I'm just realizing didn't get calculated in the far right column is that there is an increase to the fuel budget as well.
The fuel account, oh, I see that here. Did that get totaled out?
It gets totaled out in that bottom number, the 635, but it doesn't carry over to the
Percentage.
percentage.
Hopefully that'll do it. That may not even cover it.
Yeah, I think that's going off based off of some level of hope that the gas prices are gonna level off within the next year.
And diesel prices, wow. That's
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
Sorry, my computer.
The screen didn't go bad yet.
No, I mean, one screen replacement a year. Alright, here we are. Snow removal account, level funded. Street lighting, level funded. Landfill account, level funded. Cemetery account, that's it was a step increase, and I think an hour increase to their secretary, both.
Yep, 1 extra hour a week.
Yep, 1 extra hour a week. Board of Health, level funded. Inspector of Animals, level funded. Council on Aging, that's an increase, pretty much to bring the director's salary up in line to be competitive for the position. Veterans Agent, everything's level funded with the exception of the benefits have been reduced to match, or not even, like, to bring them closer to their last several years' expenses on the benefit side.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually, that's not calculated in the percentage. Well, the line, in the total percentage it does, but not in the line percentage. Library. So the library increase, we've had a lot of discussion around the library. This is an 11% increase. This brings them from 29 to 32 hours a week of being open, allows them to stay open on Fridays. Continues their 10 wireless hotspot program. And was there something else that I'm missing for the library on that increase? Oh yeah, they're moving, instead of having 2 full-time associates on each floor, they're gonna have, which makes a bit more fiscal sense, 3 associates working with, 1 on each floor and a floater to move between the floors as they see fit. That's an 11% increase, overall $25,000. Any questions on that? Recreation, we have an increase to Felton Field, 9,100. That's a. I thought we were going to do 90. So we're doing 9,100 in addition to the 2,000.
Right, that is what they've requested.
Okay, and that was the 9,100 is to provide landscaping services to Felton Fields. They are the only commission that I know of in town that's elected officials that provide their own maintenance on the field that they oversee.
Correct.
And we talked to Jason about that as well, and the DPW is not quite capable of taking over Felton Field in addition to their other duties with their current staff.
Yeah, Felton Field is would be a pretty big increase in, kind of square footage that they
Auburn
have.
takes care of the tennis courts.
Yeah, and the Little League takes care of the ball fields.
Yeah,
Mm.
so
But,
there
yeah.
isn't that much.
Well, I mean, you're talking in terms of acreage. Well,
I
that's,
was like, I don't know.
I go back, Felton Field was put to the town and they were supposed to be self-sufficient.
Right, but now
Way back.
the
Yeah.
only people who have
And-
been on Felton Field are,
Over the years, they have become laxer and
they're also older.
well, yeah.
laxer. It,
There's nothing.
you
So,
didn't go back to when you weren't here and didn't know what the people.
well, going back to the article that was written in 1934, the property does belong to the town, and the town agreed to maintain the property. My point of view is the town has failed their obligation of maintaining the property, and because the town hasn't put any money towards.
So you don't know the history.
I know the history according to what's in the paper.
But
With
you
the
don't know.
politics that occur
you don't know the
here.
scuttlebutt that went on behind it.
But here's the deal, if the town held their obligation as is written on paper, there would be no scuttlebutt. My opinion is, how many other elected commissions bring their own equipment and maintain anything? Is a conservation commission going out and,
Felton Field was a separate entity with the town,
but it's not a separate entity.
but it was.
Yeah.
And I come from the back and I have that, so I don't want to vote on anything.
Yeah.
Because I know the people that
Right.
have had the problems and,
Yeah, I think despite like the politics, as Dan has mentioned, from a legal standpoint, if one of the commissioners were to get hurt while in, like seriously hurt or even minorly hurt, like we could be under, we could face some intense lawsuits.
yeah,
So,
things change, but I have a background with it.
Yeah, well, I guess.
And I can't really put
yeah,
aside.
we don't have workers' comp for the Felton
Yeah.
Field commissioners, so.
And the other deal is, how are you gonna tell somebody that wants to possibly run to be an elected official, like, hey, guess what? Not only do you get to oversee
Yeah, yeah.
the commission, now you get to mow the field. You're not gonna get new people to volunteer to be part of that commission. The town has an obligation. The town insures the buildings. They're covered in the town insurance. The article that was written all the way back in 1934 does state, and I read it, I studied it, does state that the town must help maintain the property, and any funds that the committee
That's
earns
bad. You do
goes towards
what
that.
you want.
I'm just saying,
I know
that's-
from the, and I'm sure there's other people, you probably know things on other things in town that you know the background of, the undercurrent background.
well, there could be an
So
undercurrent.
it's hard to.
Yeah,
And so I'm not saying anything about it because,
Is that because there was a fund set aside to maintain it?
Everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
this
That fund
was
is gone.
invested and
That-
everything.
Well, that fund,
Well,
I
some of
think
the
is,
people
have to put
out
their
of the
personal
investment.
feelings aside for future
And they're
generations.
not
That's just
supposed
works.
to, there was some scuttlebutt. I heard
Well,
that was 2 years.
we-
So I just removed myself.
All right, so we're here in 2023 now, though, and the commission's asking for, an additional $9,100 to maintain the fields. Without the funds, basically, the fields are gonna go unmaintained. Is there any more questions or comments or concerns
it
on
made
that?
sense to us. It came
Well,
to-
And they need some, you know,
I
young
get
people to
it.
build. They need,
It's an influence that sticks there. I'm sure you have things too.
anyway.
And I'd rather not.
Vote? Oh, we don't-
No, we don't have to vote, we're just gonna move on.
Move on.
Parks and Commons. This was an increase to possibly add a third person.
Yeah, third employee to help with the upkeep of the cemeteries and the commons.
Whether they actually get somebody hired to do that.
Right.
Historical Commission, level funded. Holiday decorations, holiday decorations getting expensive.
Yes.
Those contracts.
An additional $400, up to $2,500. County retirement, 9% increase. Health insurance, a 5% increase.
Is that locked in now? Yeah, good.
General insurance, slight decrease, Jessica, from what was presented?
That's something.
Yeah, I don't know how or why, given the number of insurance claims I file. But
And
I think
that's-
part of it, part of it is that the insurance company does give us credits. The more communities that join our insurance kind of spreads out the liability. And also something with the police reform, and even though we added one full-time officer, we got rid of the other part-time officers, so it offset the cost of the insurance for those folks. And our insurance, I believe, either stayed the same for them or went down like $1,000. So yeah, just all, this is the way that it worked out this year.
No complaints.
Some savings is shave where we can, right? Debt principal, so we talked about this. The debt principal went up, but the debt interest is coming down. Have been figured out the reasoning and why?
The reasoning and why I don't quite understand still, other than the fact that these are variable, the interest rates change every year, and the interest rates this year were low. But we have cross-checked all of these numbers with our bank, and that this is what we will owe. And Jean and I, we had a discussion about it today, because I think the big one that we've missed the past couple of years, basically since it was created, was when the town did the capital improvement ban, and they lumped all of those purchases together. The town has always underfunded that, and this year we made sure that we didn't, so that's why there's such a big increase on that capital improvement ban item to $171,000.
So that ban is scheduled to be paid off in how many years?
10 years?
Still 10?
Yes.
It started out 10, didn't it?
Yeah, every time the ban rolls though, it's an additional 10 years.
So we hadn't been allocating enough money at that time to pay this off.
Right, so the way that Jean
Yeah.
has taken care of it in years past is that she, in the interdepartmental transfers, she
Mhm.
covers it
Yeah,
that way.
Yeah.
So we've still been paying the right amount, we've just never actually allocated the right amount
Oh.
at the beginning of the fiscal year, if that makes sense. So,
My understanding of a ban must be, it's a short-term loan, right?
yes, but every time we roll it, it adds more time.
That's why we have an ambulance that's gonna be.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, it
And
was a
not only an
mistake.
ambulance,
It
but
was a mistake.
not
Well,
only the
that's-
ambulance.
That's what's gonna lead to a further discussion down
Yes.
the road here.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, let's get through this.
all right, so any questions on the debt interest beyond that? All right, so that's the whole omnibus budget minus the schools. So, any further discussion on our budget as presented, excluding the schools? I mean, really, essentially really excluding Quabbin Regional School District at this point.
We could vote on Money Tech, couldn't
We could.
we? And then that's.
Is Monty Tech, well, it depends on how the article is written. Is the Article
Money
5?
Tech is always separate.
Article 5 is omnibus schools, so no, we will not make a recommendation at this moment on Monty Tech.
I thought we
Well,
always
I-
voted that separate.
Omnibus.
So,
Keyword.
so the school budget, the way that we will probably present it to the community,
It's always been below the other, right?
that was probably before 2020, so that was before I got here.
Schools have always been separate.
Well, it is, Article 5 is the school's budget.
Article, yeah, schools themselves as a department. The Monty Tech, Quabbin, and then the debt exclusion. Right?
Yeah. See, I'm looking at it's in the finance
Debt
committee.
service, not debt exclusion, debt
It's
service.
down below.
Yes, so that's Article 5. We won't vote on Monty Tech. Monty Tech's not gonna be part of the Article 4. Monty Tech will be a part of Article 5. Any further questions on the budget minus the schools? Do we wanna make a motion? Entertain a motion?
Yeah,
possibly?
I'll make a motion that we have favorable. Oh, go ahead.
I have a question.
Sure.
Let me get this straight now. Article 5 is gonna be Quabbin and Monty Tech?
And Quabbin Regional Debt Service, correct. So it's gonna be that full school department.
So
But if we're,
for 4, we can go with 100% then. We're not voting on the school for Article 4.
we'll approve Monty Tech, 'cause they went down.
Yeah, I mean, you can vote how you want, committee member. I'm not approving anything on schools
But
at this moment.
people will probably go with Monty Tech's budget.
I
Knowing
agree
the
with,
people.
I know, I agree
So it
with,
shouldn't be
yeah.
grouped with Quabbin if you wanna hold and say no. You don't wanna vote on both schools and say no on Monty Tech.
I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
It should be on a separate,
but the way
because of the problem with Quabbin.
the way the article's written, right, we gotta
Yeah, it's
lump it.
gotta
Well,
change.
the town should, I would recommend that the town votes in favor of what I have proposed as a number, not what Quabbin came to us with. So what we put on the town meeting floor isn't necessarily what Quabbin comes to us with.
See,
Right.
this reminds me of when I
But-
got,
Combining the two though, still.
Right.
You know, is if we have to go to a special town meeting and everything,
Right.
we don't wanna hold over one or
Right.
two.
you don't wanna hold over Monty
Right,
Tech.
right.
Well, you could offer an amendment to the budget, amendment to the article at town
Mhm.
meeting.
Yep. And that's,
Always,
yeah, that's probably
It's
how we'll
that.
do it.
can always do that.
Do
So,
you remember, Brian, when we went like
I have a
this
short memory.
with the budget?
Yes, yes.
And
yes,
then-
yes, yes. I remember it all.
The superintendent of schools had the meeting stacked with teachers.
I wonder who that was. I think I sit next to her all the time.
And they voted a higher number.
Well,
And she had agreed with me the night before
Well,
on
nobody
the phone
agreed on this number.
to
We're
agree.
talking about tonight.
I think we're
But
gonna.
before we
yeah.
jump,
So
before we
be
jump,
aware of
yeah.
what can
They're not
happen.
gonna do that. They are not gonna do
Before
that.
we jump on to the schools,
That's what I said.
we're gonna come back, to Article 4,
Okay.
which is it's the omnibus budget minus the schools. So at this point, it is
It's just
excluding
this.
Monty Tech, it's excluding Quabbin, and it's excluding the Quabbin debt service.
Yeah.
So let's look for an action on Article 4 at this moment.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. Motion for favorable action on Article 4.
I would second that.
So we have a motion and a second to accept favorable action on Article 4, FY 2023 omnibus budget. Again, minus the school department. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, 7-0. Now, Article 5, the 2023 omnibus school budget. And the way it's written as an article, it says, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of, to pay school charges and expenses for fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023, in accordance with the provisions of, should say 2022,
Yep.
with the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 41, Section 108, effective July 1st, again, I should say 2022, or fiscal July 2020, whatever you want to say it, and make all appropriations for the same, or take any other actions relative thereto.
So I think we're going to table that, or pass over it, or...
I mean, my recommendation is in line with Jessica
Okay.
on proposing to the town favorable action towards what we propose of the $5,973,693.52,
Okay.
which that's a 3.5% increase over fiscal year 2022. And that's for quadrant assessment. Their current, now Jessica, this number here, the 6.5, that's the updated 11% increase, or is that what they originally presented to us, the 13% increase?
That is what they originally presented. Their updated number is 6.4 million.
So the schools did, at their last meeting, maybe 3 weeks ago,
Yep.
they did update and reduce the assessment to the towns to 11.4 to the town of Barre.
Mm-hmm.
And Barre has, what is it, 36% of the overall regional school responsibility?
Correct.
So with that number where the budget is balanced?
That number right there gives us a balanced budget against projected revenues,
Yeah,
correct?
right, right.
We're actually under projected revenue, so we could move on that number, which I think it would be wise for us to do, because at the end of the day, I think that we are even gonna come in, like, what we vote at town meeting isn't what we're gonna end up at special town meeting, so it's like, we might as well just give the money that we're able to, and then when we do
Right.
have to go back at special town meeting in the, summer or fall, it's less of a impact
Yeah.
on free cash. That's where it's gonna have to come out of.
Where do you think we're gonna be? Like, how much can we move on them?
I think we can move up to 4.5%.
And what's that dollar amount?
1 second. $6,033,159. So I met with the superintendent and the 4 other towns, and essentially, if we all came in at like this 4% number, that means that the school would still have to cut their overall budget. That is how much of a gap we have between what they provided for excess and deficiency for 2 years and where we are now, without that extra revenue, so.
See, part of the issue with the school budget is they came in so low last year, which looks great, you
Yeah.
know? They came in 1%. I feel they made a couple promises to the finance committee and said that, they weren't gonna have a large increase until 2024.
I think I remember seeing
Whether the funding didn't source out, I don't fully understand myself, some of the discrepancies in the numbers. But I can tell that, to have all of our departments properly funded within town, and the town, even if we didn't fund anybody, we level funded everybody, we still wouldn't be able to afford funding the schools and what they're asking for. You know, even with the adjusted ask at the 11%, it's just, it's far too much.
I think one of the things that the schools didn't predict last year that happened this year is that they had a lot of retirees, and that increased their benefits budget by over 20%, and which equated to like a $1.2 million increase in that budget. So I don't think that was, all of that was projected.
And if just, if you don't mind, I was digging for my notepad. What was that 4.5, what was that number, 6 point?
$6,033,159.
And, okay.
And that makes the bottom line match.
Yeah.
And
We
that,
still have some wiggle room, but we still are in negotiations. Not that we're gonna max out off of our negotiations, but, I still need some room to finalize those numbers.
and that's a 4.5% increase over.
Is there something we can do moving forward with those retiree, like, so we don't, there's nothing?
No, cause retiree benefits are all negotiated at the school level, so.
So we would want to, because right now, the way the article is written, it just says appropriate a sum to pay school charges and expenses. There's no dollar amount in there.
Right, which is very important to, like, there's no dollar amount in the Article 4 either, because those numbers, once they're published on a warrant, we're kind of stuck to those numbers. So we want to make sure that in the event that we need to move, we can do it on the town meeting floor and not necessarily have to be stuck to whatever's published on the warrant.
Okay.
So how do we vote?
I'm-
Favorable.
I mean, everyone can, again, you know, every committee member can choose. I would say, can we make a motion, not to exceed
4.5%.
4.5% over FY '22?
For the Quabbin.
For the Quabbin portion of the omnibus.
So you would make that motion in the warrant, you would change the warrant to read that way, or?
No, these don't go on the warrant.
This is
This
the
goes in
recommendation.
this goes in the finance book.
Oh, okay.
See, the way the article's written, it's a little funny, because it's like, all right, you know, you make a motion to be unfavorable, and it's like, oh, you don't want to raise or appropriate any money to give to the schools, right? If you look at how it's written, we want to give them $0, because it just says a sum of money to pay school charges. So if, my thought is, if we're going to make a recommendation, our recommendation should not to be to exceed a percentage of or a dollar amount, whether we, and that's our recommendation.
Right. Like these recommendations, like I said, it's gonna go in the finance booklet, and in the finance booklet, it's gonna say FY '22, we spent X amount of dollars, FY '23, the school has requested X amount of dollars, and the town of Barre, is recommending that we pay a different amount of dollars. So your motion can read, you know, we recommend the town of Barry's proposed school budget, and then people can see, okay, they are recommending the $6,033,000, not the $6.4 million.
So that,
But
The people
What
can vote
happens,
the
yeah.
higher.
that's
Well,
what,
the
that's
people
what
can
Claire was
have-
referring to earlier.
We can't, but we gotta remember, this is our recommendation.
Right, we
We
still
can
have
only,
to.
we can only provide a recommendation to the
Yeah, but
towns.
what happens to the bottom line of the budget?
Oh, of course,
That's what-
Right.
Yeah, that's what they did that year.
I know.
and that could very well
And
happen
they
again.
did it.
I don't, they're not, so the issue though is that we're one of 5 towns.
Yes.
And I
Yeah,
have,
we know that.
I sat in
They
a
did that.
room with all 4 other towns, and all 4 other towns
Yeah.
Like, none of them are gonna vote this
Okay.
budget.
Yeah.
So, if Barry does say, yeah, we're gonna vote this budget,
I
at the
don't
end of the day,
see-
we're not gonna,
You
it
know the
It
won't
towns,
happen.
you know the towns that are part of the at the,
Other towns
not at that, what
They
they
may-
proposed.
do the same thing that she did that night.
But this is a different circumstance because
In
the,
fact, didn't she do it with 2 towns? Brian, was it 2 towns
I don't
that
remember.
weren't?
I don't remember that part.
All I know is
You have any
that
questions?
Yeah, but
I was just floored.
if we put this limit in at the 4.5%,
Hmm.
then that ought to cover us.
Well, this is
If
our,
And if
the
it
town
comes up in
votes
the-
for it.
well,
Yeah,
It
the
covers,
town-
this is,
covers the finance.
yeah, this is our recommendation.
Right,
You know, so we're saying, this is our recommendation.
yeah,
What the town does at meeting is a whole nother scenario.
sure.
You're absolutely correct. Could
And it
the
was-
schools pack a meeting?
was stacked with
just as easily as any other department can stack a
People that
meeting.
hadn't attended meetings before with them.
right,
And
I'm-
I heard from someone, well, it was Rob LaRue. His wife was threatened if she didn't show up and vote right, there would be ramifications.
well, we're not gonna, I don't
Yeah.
want, especially with, you know, who's
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
select board now.
Let's,
Muddy any waters.
Yep.
let's,
I can remember
Just prepare yourself
what Claire was
that
saying.
it could happen.
I understand, and
I
I,
just wanted to support her
no, I,
thoughts.
and it's a valid thought.
Yeah.
You gotta remember, we can only control our recommendations, or we can't control what occurs at town meeting.
I never thought it would ever happen,
Yeah,
especially when they tell you the night before.
mm,
I couldn't believe it.
I know. But we're not here to, like, at this point, we're not here to decide the outcome of town meeting. We're just here to offer the recommendations. And I know myself as being part of the committee, I cannot recommend what the school district has proposed, the Quabbin School District
No.
has proposed.
But I would feel better if Monty Tech was taken out of that.
So I think if
That
it
it
comes
was
to it, we
voted
can
separate.
amend this article at town meeting to make that happen, correct?
Yes, I mean, we could even
So-
put on if you'd like to make a motion that the finance committee recommends the omnibus,
The
Article
school
5 to separate Monty Tech from the omnibus. As for our favorable recommendations, we can do that.
Yeah,
we're
not to change,
favorable.
we're not changing the warrant, but
You can print it on there that we voted favorable. for
not on the
Monty Tech.
warrant. Cause the warrant's already been voted by the.
In the finance committee handbook.
Well, in the, yes, I'm just making it clear that what's gonna be this is gonna be published in the warrant, but what gets published in the, committee book will be more detailed. So when people are looking through, they can
Yeah,
understand.
That we
That we
separated out.
approve the
Mhm.
Monty
Monty Tech.
do you want to make a motion that we make a separate recommendation for Monty Tech over the Quabbin assessment?
Yeah.
Under the
Separate-
omnibus?
Separate them out.
Okay,
Our vote
I'll leave that up to you to make that motion.
on
Article
Article
5.
Article.
5, yeah. I recommend that the finance committee vote the Quabbin Regional School budget separate from the Monty Tech school budget for the finance committee handbook.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so our recommendations are gonna be split to 2 under Article 5. We're gonna have a recommendation for the Monty Tech assessment. So Monty Tech, we'll discuss them. They came in at a -3%, looking for $370,256, which is about $10,000 less than FY '22. Do we want to make a motion for favorable on that?
Yeah, favorable action on Montechusett.
Second that.
All in favor with a favorable action to the Monty Tech assessment under the omnibus?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we're in favor now.
Everyone's in favor, all right. Now, we have the Quabbin assessment, Quabbin Regional Debt Service. In the paper, it's at 3.5% for the town administrator assessment. We've learned that we can go to 4.5% on the schools, and we will still have a balanced budget in terms of our revenues. Is,
Who establishes this regional debt service, this 1% increase in the?
It's the same way that all of our other debt is on a schedule.
So
So,
this is fixed, so.
yep, yeah, it's a fixed, and
Okay.
it is going down because
Okay.
I don't know how long it's been, we've been incurring the debt, but it has been going down.
and if I'm not mistaken, that's part of that whole Chapter 70 funds, right, the debt service? Not
The
having,
hold
enough-
harmless debt.
the hold
yeah.
harmless, that's what the word I was looking for.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
yeah, that was, yeah.
That whole thing, like not enough students, right, where the
Yeah, but they
enrollment's
didn't
on the
take, they
decline,
don't
yeah.
take the funding away, but then they still, they still get
Yeah,
ya.
Yeah.
big issue, yeah.
And again, so that number was 6,033,000 for the 4.5%. 159,
Yep, 159.
and that would put the 4.5%. And it would leave the town with a balanced budget. Not a penny more.
Who knows? We're not sure.
At least for our recommendation. So, is everyone in agreement on a favorable recommendation for that?
Yeah.
Okay, so you wanna,
I'll make a motion, we have favorable action on Article 5. The cap, with a cap of 4.5% increase to school Quabbin budget. If that makes any sense.
Now, in the finance committee booklet, can you print that number?
Which for the,
Yeah.
the
For the
6,033,159?
Yeah.
With our favorable, we
Right.
approve
Yep.
that amount.
Yeah.
So it's there for the people.
oh yes, yeah, all of the details will be in the book.
Okay.
So I'll second that motion.
All right, so there's a motion and a second on the floor to accept favorable action on Article 5 for the Quabbin Regional School District portion at 4.5% increase, $6,033,159. All in favor? Aye. That's a lot of words. Okay, so let's see where we are.
Okay, we got that.
We left off, we were skipping over Article 9 and Article 10 at this moment. All right. Article 11.
This is again the old.
So these are the ones to clean up.
Correct.
Okay,
We
yes.
already-
Everything except for the sidewalks.
Okay. Oh, so we actually did these as separate articles. We didn't just do one article.
Yeah, it's better. I think it's just better that way.
Okay. So this is something that we've talked about since I've been on the committee, is cleaning up some of these old articles, these old dollars that have been out there for 10-plus years. I am very happy to see that the South Barre is getting sidewalks and the sidewalk funds were used. I mean, that's great. These other old articles, I believe we have had the DPW superintendent in, and he said that there's just not enough money to repair bridges there, and it's unlikely that they're gonna use those funds as is, so this town doesn't have any plans at this point forth to fund bridge projects outside of Chapter 90, correct?
Correct.
All right, so,
So it's cleaning up the books.
cleaning up the books, Claire, cleaning up the books, we're gonna,
And this will roll into our free cash too, which will be
Yeah.
pretty.
free cash, or does it have to move to stabilization?
It will move to free cash and then we can move it to stabilization.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, we have a favorable action on Article 11, 12, and 13.
I'll second
Okay, we have a motion and a second for favorable action on Article 11, amend Article 12 of the 2002 annual town meeting. Article 12, amend Article 11 of 2003 annual town meeting. And Article 13, amend Article 19 of the 2004 town meeting. We're gonna have to come back to 14. All in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Article 14 is pretty much the same thing.
Yep.
More recent article, this was the town roof, came in well under budget. This other unused funds, same situation. The town needs to vote to move those funds since it was voted on at town meeting to use those funds. So,
Favorable action on Article 14.
That was done though? Wasn't there something
The
about,
roof?
there was no roof done at all?
no, the roof was done. The roof was
Yeah.
done at
Oh,
about
that's fine.
$22,000 and it was funded for 50, or somewhere around there. I could be off a
Okay.
couple
So you're
dollars.
not taking all the money, you're taking back partial.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
whatever was left over.
The unused portion,
They've already
yeah.
spent.
They
Yeah.
spent 22, yeah.
Did it, and I did it like within a week for $22,000, so.
Yeah. We're gonna get this cleaned up a bit early. We're not gonna let it sit around for 20 years, right?
Yes.
With a pitch on that roof, I was surprised.
I want the contractors, no?
Yeah, he's in town. This is-
Okay, I know what it is. Thank you.
Do we have a motion on that one already?
Yes.
Do we have a
I'll
second?
second. We've got a
Oh,
second.
okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second to accept favorable action on Article 14, amend Article 30 of the 2021 annual town meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
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 That's 7-0. Article 15. This is by the Select Board. This will see if the town will raise and appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds a sum of $51,618.36 to pay for a prior fiscal year FY22,
FY21.
FY21, or take any action relative thereto.
And that's for the health insurance bill that got missed from last May.
So there was a health insurance bill.
And then the Article 16, I had copied and pasted it, but I forgot to fix the number, so when we get to that one, I already fixed the error.
You
And
say that this is
Aren't we
for
on
health
Article
care?
15?
we're on
On
15.
15.
Yep.
Okay.
This shouldn't say what it was for.
It's for, it'll say what it's for when we get to the booklet, but it is for a health insurance bill.
And how do we plan to raise, borrow, or appropriate the funds? What's,
It'll have to come from that landfill stabilization account to clean that up.
the landfill stabilization account had 270,000?
237.
237, I knew there was a.
So all said and done, after we get from this town meeting, there will be $130,000 left. No, it's $130,000, so there will be $107,000 left in that account.
That's the stabilization account?
The landfill stabilization account.
Okay.
And on the landfill stabilization account, just to clarify, that, can you just explain what that was originally set up to be?
Yep, so back when the town was gonna be losing waste management, their landfill, the town received a significant amount of revenue every year from waste management so they could operate the landfill in town. So a number of years ago, the town had some foresight and said, we're gonna need to set aside money to offset this lost revenue. And that's when they created this landfill stabilization account with a goal to fund it to, I believe it was like $1 million. And then the town only made 1 or 2 installments to this account. And it's been accruing interest since but there's been no activity to add to it. And it's really just kind of gone unnoticed to all of us.
And how long since the account was created? Do you know when it was created?
It was sometime around 2010.
So it was about 12 years old, and that's the last time it was funded, was in 2010.
I believe it was only funded, it was either funded the one time when it was created, or it may have been funded an additional year after that, but Yeah, that was about it. That was its runway, was 1 or 2 years after it was created, and then it hasn't been touched since.
Mhm. And by depleting this account, it doesn't put the town at risk for anything that we know of. Okay.
What happens if something starts leaching into the water up there?
So
Who's
Waste
responsible?
Management
Are they
owns that,
responsible?
so,
Okay.
yeah, they would be,
Yeah.
but they capped it, and so we
No.
should be okay.
That'll hopefully be their responsibility.
Yeah, well, that's what
Yeah.
I'd hate to see them back on the town.
All right, so we're gonna have a motion
Yep.
on our,
Favorable action on Article 15.
Second?
so we have a motion and a second to accept favorable action on Article 15, payment of bills from a prior fiscal year. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
There he is. So there is no Article 16.
There is Article 16.
Yeah.
Well, there, I mean, Article 16 is a capital request.
No, Article
No.
16 is another payment, so it's for this the combi oven from the schools. And I had accidentally, I
There's
just
a
copied.
fun number here.
Wait,
No, hang on, hold on, real quick. So on our form here, the vote, Article 16 is
the
a
same.
capital.
Hmm.
On here, Article 16 is a duplicate, so
Yeah,
we need to renumber these articles here, or we could include,
it's a duplicate, isn't
Yeah, it looks like a duplicate.
it? Yeah.
But
Line
it's-
16
it's in
is
there
ambulance,
twice.
17 says ambulance, but it's for a fire truck.
But
Yeah,
without a
700.
fiscal year,
no,
Right.
that's the only difference.
I have Article 16 as another payment of a bill.
16 and
Yes.
17.
So last night at the selectmen's meeting, they rescinded the special town meeting that we were gonna have, right, like, basically congruently with the annual town meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And this is basically to save Ellen a lot of work. So we had to add the one article that was gonna be on that special town meeting to our annual town meeting. And that is for $6,509.
For the oven?
So that should be Article 16.
That's Article
Change the-
16.
Change the value in that.
So what happens here
It doesn't
on
either.
Sandy's form
Right,
is Article 16 goes right into,
in between the 15 and,
goes to the new ambulance.
we're
Um,
just bumping all of those other articles down one.
Oh, I have a different form.
15A.
So we're gonna have a 16,
Uh-huh.
so just change capital request to 17, right?
Yeah,
And
we're
then-
just bumping
I've got
everything
it
down one.
17.
So what is 16?
16 is
has
a
to be the
duplicate
copy
of
of-
15 on my sheet.
it sounds
here.
like 16.
Yes.
See, no, you,
It
so,
has to be,
Why is
16
it-
has to be
Cl-
6,000
I'm
for
not
the other.
understanding the duplicate.
you, all right, well, but we're talking two different forms. I have the form for the voting of the finance committee, and we skipped over Article 16 here. You got that right, Sandy? Not on that form, on the voting form.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
This should be the same as yours, that
No,
we're all
but-
voting on.
Oh, hang on, Claire, hang on. You see how it goes from 15 payment of bills and then it goes to 17 capital requests? So there's no 16, there should be another article between,
Yeah, simple enough.
on that
Yeah,
document.
the select board just had to change it from last night, so she was going based off of what happened last
Mhm.
night. And then we had to add this article
Mhm.
this
So how
morning.
is
Oh,
mine
so I
supposed to
didn't
be
get the
changed?
addition this, I
Yeah,
didn't get the
so we're-
addition this morning.
Yours is, I'm looking at the one you have right here,
Yeah,
so I'm confused because I'm looking at this one here and there's,
Yeah,
the Article 16 is different here.
I didn't get the addition.
Yours is fine, yours has the same information that we all have, right? It looks like a duplicate of 15,
yeah, we just have to change that
Well,
51,000.
we have to change the- yeah,
6,509.
to 6,500 for the oven.
Yeah,
And that's Article 16.
Article
Article
16.
16, yes.
Correct.
So we'll get 31
well,
articles.
what's the correct number?
It's 6,509.
Article 16 should read,
Yeah,
to see if the town will raise and appropriate, borrow or transfer from available funds to the sum of
$509.
$6,509 to pay for bills of a prior fiscal year or take any other action relative thereto.
And that's for the school.
Ovens,
Yes.
And the money's coming from,
the
The same account.
landfill account.
okay, okay.
Yep.
Now,
We should be doing it from the finance committee handbook. That's what we should be voting for.
Okay, so next year, we will do it on the night of town meeting, like we've done before, or the night of the public hearing. I
We-
think this year we were trying to be proactive.
yeah,
No.
no,
This is
we
better
had-
today.
Yeah.
This is
no,
fine.
I don't wanna be in a position where we're not offering recommendations, and we discussed
I-
that.
No.
But we
I
can't-
want to tell you something. When we held the public hearing, when I was chair, we had the finance committee handbook, and we handed them out at the public hearing.
We haven't had the hearing yet.
Right.
But how did you offer a recommendation before the hearing?
We had the finance committee
But you
handbook,
offered the recommendations at the hearing.
yes, and then they went out and printed them
Mm-hmm.
for the public hearing with our recommendations on them.
Yeah, we did that last year, and remember, we couldn't offer recommendations for a slew of articles because we didn't have time to research
Because
them.
this isn't good voting when you don't have the numbers and you got them here and you got them there and it shouldn't be
I think we got the
here.
number.
Yeah, we got the number.
We're
Yeah.
comfortable with the
65
number.
But it's not worded the right
The-
way.
Well, it will.
Well,
Yeah,
the-
of what it
We're gonna
is.
change the number.
Again-
We're not saying at all what it is. It doesn't say at all
So-
what it is.
I think next year will be a combination of years prior and this year. And I think that we're just learning from our mistakes. But I think this is actually really good. Like, just as a new member, remembering last year and it felt very, very rushed.
Rushed, yeah.
See,
Yeah.
we never were rushed. Did
I
you
felt
think we
rushed.
were
I felt
Yes.
rushed.
I had no idea what was
never
going on.
rushed and I was chair.
Well,
And we
then
had
you're
it
in a
done
special
and we
category,
had
aren't you?
we had it going. They took them and had them printed.
I like the system. If we want to have a vote, let's
We
still
had,
vote.
the public hearing was a week before the,
2 weeks
Town
before,
meeting.
2 weeks prior to the town meeting. It's a public hearing. But
we had them sometimes one.
like I said, I would prefer if the committee, whether, every committee member is able to be favorable or unfavorable to any recommendation that they want to. You know, that's your right as a committee member. Now, as I stated, I want to get away from not offering recommendations, especially
I would just
on
say-
town-sponsored articles.
Add.
Yes.
Articles.
Because I was wondering about that on
The,
the next ones.
well, we'll get to that. I feel that we should have a firm stance, or even for the
And worry about
non-finance
the numbers
related
later.
articles, whether you're for it or against it, but as a finance committee to offer that recommendation for the townspeople who look for that recommendation. And,
A lot of things in the long run affect
Right.
oh,
financial.
Just
Yeah.
absolutely,
Don't worry about
absolutely.
these numbers.
And I still reflect on, the special town meeting where I wish that played out a lot differently and we were able to offer a recommendation, and I want to do our best to not have that situation going forward.
Yeah.
At least why I'm sitting in the chair position. Whoever chairs next can do whatever they please. So we're on to Article 17, which Article 17 is a capital request purchase sponsored by the fire department to purchase and equip a new ambulance. And this, to see if the town will raise and appropriate, borrow, or transfer the sum of $365,000 to purchase a new ambulance, or to take any other action relative thereto.
And the fire chief did just come to me and let me know that that number actually went down to 305, so.
Oh, so a savings.
Ooh. It's because we can-
Is was he
Reuse.
sandbagging this whole time and looking to come in with a lower number? And be like,
No,
"Oh."
we can he found out we can reuse some of the equipment on the existing ambulance, because by the time we get this new ambulance, the existing ambulance is going, his goal was to have a third ambulance. But due to the age of the existing ambulance and the time frame it's gonna take to get a new ambulance, that idea is not gonna work out this time. So we are gonna be back down to 2 ambulances, which means that some of the expensive equipment can be transferred over to a new ambulance, because the life of that equipment will still, go on.
Now, the issue with the ambulance, no matter no matter which way it goes, is the funding. And I know they're 18 to 24 months out. The town doesn't need to pay for the ambulance until it's received.
Correct.
One question that came up was the chassis fee, right? Does the town need to pay a chassis fee? No.
We could pay a chassis fee, and then we would save some money there, but the risk with that is that we're paying for something that we don't have yet.
Okay.
So I think the savings is nominal to, paying
And
for something ahead of time that we don't own.
what is the recommendation of the town for funding the ambulance at this point?
It'll be, the chief and I recommend that we do a lease purchase. So 3-year lease purchase for the new ambulance, and then a 7-year lease purchase for the fire truck.
All right, we're not gonna talk the fire truck just yet.
Okay.
What are the terms on the lease purchase?
We're still waiting to hear back from the finance person. He came on the wrong day last week, and we were not able to meet with him, so we have to reschedule that.
Well, at least he came.
Yeah. Kind of showed up a little unexpectedly. He thought it was Thursday when it was a Wednesday. It happens.
I know where he's coming from.
So we were supposed to have those numbers for tonight, but we just didn't happen.
So I like the idea of the fire department getting, we talked about this several times, getting on a program similar to what the police department's on, right? Where they're funding an ambulance about every 3 years, so that way they can replace one piece every 6 years, right? I mean, that makes fiscal sense to me. I am not a huge fan of borrowing. And I say this because the town still owes money on an ambulance that's gonna be out of service. And we're probably still gonna be paying for that out of service ambulance. From a financial aspect, I feel like we gotta figure out a way to fund the ambulance that it's not gonna be in another situation where it lasts 6 years, but we have, what did you say the terms of the lease were?
It's a 3-year lease to purchase.
A lease to purchase. And that doesn't start until we receive the ambulance.
Correct.
So that's 5 years out.
And
What
then
is-
the chief said that he wanted to put that amount as a line item, so that we would just continue having that be a line item for
Mhm.
payment every year to add that truck to the budget, basically.
Ideally, that would be the goal. Is,
Right.
same thing we'd like to see the police department do with their cruisers, have it be a budget line item. Whether we get there or not, that depends.
So this 305, 3-year lease, is that, for the 3-year lease, is it 305? Is that the out-the-door number?
Yes.
Okay, that includes any extra charges
Right.
for lease?
But at the end of the lease, the town has to decide whether to purchase,
No?
But it's
Well,
a
we
lease
own
to purchase.
a lease to purchase.
it.
Right.
We own it after 3 years. Right?
What?
We own it after 3 years.
Yes, yeah, lease to purchase. So
Yeah.
essentially, we're borrowing, but through the company and not going out and borrowing, through any kind of municipal bond.
But we don't know what the interest rate is.
Not at this point.
So, I mean, you could borrow at 10%, and then it adds another $30,000 to the cost of the
Right,
vehicle.
right.
Right.
Sounds like a plan to me, a 3-year lease. We can swing it.
And there's no other avenues of funding?
We could, well, I mean, our only other avenue for funding would be purchasing it outright.
Mm-hmm.
That's, right,
But we don't, as of right now, because we don't have free cash,
yeah.
and we don't have enough
I mean,
to authorize.
in 3 years, yeah, we don't have enough to, if, in a normal year, if we were to get the ambulance within the fiscal year, we wouldn't be able to authorize a full purchase. Potentially, I mean, if we're diligent and we, are putting money aside and making these decisions to get to the 305 by the time it's delivered, then when we are going into FY25, we could potentially have enough cash set aside, but I still don't think that would be responsible
Okay.
for 2 years from now. Because, yeah.
Yeah, and they could have a miraculous recovery and have it quicker too.
Maybe.
Yeah, hope for the best.
I think the issue with that is there's only a certain number of manufacturers for these types of
Yeah,
equipment.
three. He said
and-
three.
Yeah.
And
Well, I'm the fire
everybody
tech,
and their
yeah.
brother is ordering an ambulance right now.
Because you got all these ARPA funds and stuff coming
Right.
in, and
Right, which is another form that like I've advocated for, is that we use not $300,000 to go towards apparatus, but maybe some small portion to offset the impact to the taxpayer. So that is another avenue that we can take to help fund the purchase.
I mean, I agree with the ambulance. I like the 305 better. I'm not a huge fan of the lease, but if that's what gets us on the books and gets it rolling, the town needs ambulances. That's probably next to a police cruiser. That's, I think, the next piece of equipment that's the most important. So that's Article 17. Do we have a motion for Article 17 for favorability?
Motion for favorable action on Article 17.
I'll second it.
So we have a motion and a second to accept favorable action. I'm sorry, yeah, it's Article 17.
17.
Yeah, capital request, purchase and equip a new ambulance. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, 7-0. So Article 18. Article 18, a bit of a different discussion in my opinion, but to see if the town will raise and appropriate, borrow, or transfer the sum of $700,000 to purchase and equip a new fire truck or take any other action relative thereto. Does anyone have any discussion on the fire truck?
Where's the money? Who's got the money?
What's, Jessica, what's the plan to fund the $700,000 fire truck?
The plan will be the same idea as the ambulance, where we do a lease purchase and extend that out to 7 years. Because the life of a fire truck is about 25 years. You can get 30 years out of them, but
Mhm.
you can get more than 30 years out of them, but
Yeah.
if you're pushing it. But
So, here's the conundrum I have with the fire truck. I agree that the fire department likely needs to replace this engine at some point. It's at the end of its useful life. It's pretty close, but from a financial side, we have to acknowledge that the town currently has a ban for 2 fire apparatuses that are still outstanding, not fully paid for, where we owe approximately $60,000 on one engine and another $236,000 on another engine. We may need it, but I don't, for financial sense, I'm not sure if it makes sense to flip the bill for another engine at this point. Maybe if one of those engines were already paid off, and or ideally both of those engines were paid off, I'm not comfortable with accepting more debt to the taxpayers on a third piece of equipment when we had 2016 a fire engine come on board and then 2019 fire engine come on board, and we still owe significant dollars.
But the delivery on this truck is what?
2 years.
Yeah, 3 years.
Will either of those bans be paid off?
That's what I was trying to
Yeah,
look for
yeah.
now. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it super quickly, but
Can we pay them off early?
you could.
What if we paid the sum of the smaller off? And within the 2 years, put something in, $30,000 for 2 years. And then by the time 2 years is here, we can have the third engine.
It's feasible. I don't know how the town would work that, though. I mean, we need to make a recommendation on the purchase of the purchase of it, right? Is there any way to have the town pay off that other debt early without
Well,
presenting that at a meeting?
yeah, yeah, no, we can pay down any of our debts early. There's no, penalty for us doing that.
But if we wanted to allocate funds, like say we took that extra,
Specifically to a certain band?
Yes.
Yeah, we could do that. Yep, we could absolutely do that. We
at-
could say, like, right now with the bands that we have, we could say, we owe $171,000 this year on our capital improvement band, but we wanna throw $200,000 at it because we have extra room in our levy capacity and we wanna pay down these bands. That's not a bad idea. Right now, we're paying the minimum.
if we can, I would be favorable for a new apparatus if we can get these apparatuses off the debt schedule. So if we could figure out a way to pay off in 2 years before the new truck arrives, and it makes financial sense for the town, I would be in agreement for that.
Okay.
But I just don't, I don't think it's fiscally responsible to have 3 engines on loan. I mean, we are a small town still. I like I said, I agree
Can
that
we push this off,
the special,
yeah, or to the next year? With not having any free cash, that's hurting us awful.
we could, absolutely.
And even people in town, you don't wanna raise the taxes that much either, because a lot of people are hurting.
Well, I think the tax is probably gonna
Prices
get,
on everything are awful.
I think the tax is probably gonna be close to the levy, if not at the levy this year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, inflation's, if we wanna have a COLA, I understand assessments are up, but what are you gonna do? Everything's up. Everything costs more these days. The fuel budget's gonna be through the roof. It's a conundrum. I don't know. That's my thoughts on the fire truck. Do I think the department needs it? Yeah, I do think they need it. Do I think the town can afford to pay for it at this very moment? No, I don't think the town can afford to pay for it at this very moment.
And they should have gotten the other trucks paid off.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, even the ambulance that's a sore spot. If the ambulance wasn't something that's in use all the time, even compared to a fire truck, the ambulance is used much, much more frequently. But to have an ambulance that we're about to take out of service and the town still owes over $100,000 on it is, in my opinion, it's poor financial management.
Yeah, I don't know why why the town combined all of those purchases, but Gina and I have talked about it. It's not something we would ever ever do again.
I think the pressure was on.
Probably. That's the only thing that makes sense, because obviously I'm sure whoever was in my seat and
Yes.
everybody who was involved
Yes.
in the decision making was like, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah. a short-term decision, but now you're dealing with the long-term effects, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Boy, what do we do with this?
I mean, I,
Could they use ARPA monies for this?
it would chew up a lot of the ARPA funds.
Well, we didn't have to pay for
What
it
did we
all.
Right.
get for ARPA funds?
1.6 million. So, again, I would recommend the same thing that I recommend for the ambulance, is that, you know, we do, once town meeting passes, we are gonna get back to this, the ARPA discussion and really nail down like what we're gonna do with the funds. But I do think that, you know, some of it would make sense to put it towards these two big purchases.
Yeah,
We put 500,000 yesterday or something, no?
Yeah, I would say even if it was as little as 100,000
Oh,
each, you know, just to take a little bit of a burden off of the taxpayer. And then we could also frame it in a way that, so if we get this, if we get the two pieces of apparatus 2 years from now, and we use ARPA funds to cover the first year of the payment, then it really offsets, you know, it's 3 years from now that we have to come back and we actually have to put it on our books. So, I mean, that was kind of one of the ways that I was gonna approach it, but.
What if we push the fire truck to special, you know, and have a further discussion after the ARPA to see if it makes sense to fund any of it with the ARPA? Then we'll have free cash,
yeah.
right? I understand there's the risk that the cost is gonna increase even more, but, I mean, this price has gone up. I believe when the chief presented to us, it was $550, right? Is this up now another
Yeah.
$50,000, because it went to $650,
Yep.
and now it's $700.
Yeah.
There is the risk it's gonna continue to increase, but it's also, there's a chance it's gonna come down.
Yeah,
I mean, you
And there is a clause in our contracts that if the price does come down, our cost goes down too. We're not locked into, like, if it goes up, then we're locked into what we're locked into, but if the price comes down, our price comes down.
All right, so there's a ceiling, but no floor, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So. The only thing is that this is on the warrant, so it's just gonna come down to what the finance committee recommends.
Yes, exactly. This is our recommendation.
yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
again, the fire department could stack these department just as easily as
yeah,
the schools,
yeah,
and they.
but, yeah.
And again, it's nothing. I want to say, hey, we can fund your ambulance, your fire truck, and let's put it on the books now to get that new piece of equipment. But it doesn't. It just doesn't make financial
Well,
sense to
we're not
me.
really putting
would-
it on the books until we get the truck.
Well, you're agreeing to fund it appropriately.
I know, but we're not spending money, so.
Well, you're not spending the money, but if you don't figure, if there's no plan to pay off these other
Gotta have a
engines,
plan, yeah.
you know.
I'd say to push it off.
Well, that's the easy thing to do.
You know, even,
I think that's what got us in this mess in the first place, is pushing it off.
but you have the
For
special
40 years.
town meeting, you know,
Well, I mean, I would say as long as
if we
the,
get, see what we get for free cash.
as long as the
Well,
chief
that's a big-
represents
Yeah, we
the
don't
article on special and see what else is out there.
I forget, I'm not well versed on what happens if a article gets voted down, but I believe it has to wait one whole year to be represented. I don't think we can come back in 6 months and present the same thing. I would have to double check with Ellen on that, but I do know that there's some kind of rule where if an article gets voted down, you have some grace period that you have to wait before it gets presented again.
But they could rescind the article
Right, yeah, that's the only way that it
Yeah.
would be able to go on to a
if
special town.
if they didn't feel they had the votes to
Yeah.
pass it.
Yeah.
Which I think we're on. Hold on. At least
What do you
until the
think?
free cash is certified.
Can we like just vote favorable with a amendment to, I don't know what the right wording is, cause I'm new.
Well, this is just our opinion of
Right,
a
like, can we just say that
recommendation.
we somehow to say we recommend that we
So they want 3 vehicles, so it's just.
pay for this
They want to.
after
So,
funding.
Do they have to right
Two
The
ambulances?
Yeah,
I don't know how you would word that.
funding to be announced.
Yeah.
Or recommend for Rob to rescind it
I don't know if I
and then
understand.
put it in.
Well, I'm not gonna, yeah, I mean, that's,
On the books?
I'm not sure of
Or,
the legalities
Can
of
we get
town
one
meeting
more
when it
time,
comes
put
to
it out
an
to
article,
municipal
and
can
that's like,
they're
You
not
can
conditioned
rescind an
to it.
article on the floor. They take
oh,
them off
absolutely.
all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, this is our recommendation though. So,
Yeah, I'd recommend that he rescind the article.
well, no, this is, that's not an
Why
option.
not?
That's not an option,
You
Claire.
can do it.
Like, our recommendations are, either favorable or
Yes,
unfavorable.
You can,
We're not gonna recommend that he rescinds the article, that's not an option for us.
or we leave it
no,
and
it's-
ask,
So I'm gonna ask,
somebody get in touch with Rob and ask, tell him the problem.
well, I'm not gonna leave it.
problem.
We,
You
we,
know, that's the
we,
problem.
we, the fire, Chief Rogowski's presented to us twice this year. He's asked for a fire truck both times, it's on the warrant, we've had plenty of time to discuss this. You know, I think we should make a motion and vote how you feel, whether you want it to be favorable or unfavorable.
But without knowing the way it's gonna be financed,
Yeah.
that's the catch. I mean, everybody's for it, but
We
where
don't
does
have
the money
money.
come from?
Well, remember, we're the finance committee,
Yeah,
you know,
so we
we're
have to
not,
come up with the money.
we're not the fire committee. You know, from my point of view, the
Oh,
financial.
you're saying just from the financial view,
From a financial view,
It
I
doesn't
gave
work.
my opinion.
It doesn't work.
I don't like having
yeah.
the town, I don't like the town having
Right.
all of that debt and then taking out a lease to purchase on a new piece of equipment when we still owe money on two
But
apparatuses.
the other.
Technically
apparatus is
three,
gonna be paid off.
Technically three, because there's also, I didn't even see, the ladder truck is in there as well. So there's already two engines and a ladder truck we
Yeah,
give
but
money.
those are gonna be paid off, or one of them, the ambulance is gonna be paid off.
The
But
ambulance,
not the fire. Yeah, the
I don't
fire
know
truck
about the
should be.
ambulance, but one of the fire trucks
Yeah.
should be by the time we get
Yeah.
to incurring this debt.
Right.
We-
Shouldn't he have presented it, his case on how to pay for it?
We did.
When
He
we
did.
got negative
7-year
free
lease.
cash.
no, he did, he did.
7-year lease.
He said either a 7-year lease. He also, you know, he asked for ARPA funds, right? Or he asked to raise and appropriate.
And he applies for grants.
And he does
Yeah,
apply
that's
for
the
grants.
thing.
He does, it is hard to get a grant though if the town's footing the bill and agrees to foot the
Yeah.
bill, right?
Yeah,
Well, no. it's
Well, not always, not always, so,
Sorry.
yeah. So just to run down real quickly, I mean, is, the fire department does have, because I missed the ladder truck. So they have the ladder truck, outstanding principal of $105,000. They, from 2016. They have a fire engine, outstanding balance of $236,000 from 2019. They have the ambulance is already favorable. They have a second fire engine with an outstanding balance of $60,000 from 2016. So the fire department currently has 3 vehicles excluding an ambulance that the town owes money on.
Yeah, all right.
I just, like I said, I think from a financial
Yeah.
standpoint, we should not, I'm not gonna be favorable to approve, to recommend myself another loan for a truck. And I feel like if we wanna talk about it at special or further,
Yeah, we'll do more research on the funding.
it's, you know, possibly partially funded by ARPA.
Yeah.
So how do we get these off? Do we pay additional, do we vote on additional cash?
That's something that the town needs to figure out.
Right, so this is the finance committee's recommendation, but it's still gonna go on town meeting floor.
Yes.
Mhm.
Can we recommend unfavorable, but that can we also recommend something else, or will does that like negate, like we couldn't say like we are unfavorable, but we recommend paying off the other bills first?
Well, I mean, kinda like
think
with Quabbin, I
If
mean-
if anybody comes up with a question saying like, well, why, you know, cause anybody
Yeah.
could come and say, oh, it shows that the finance committee is unfavorable to this, can you guys explain? and that will give you guys the opportunity to explain.
You can do that then.
But this article isn't actually, we're not appropriating any money per se at this meeting. We're just giving the fire chief permission to purchase with the intent that the town is committing to in the future that we are gonna have to pay for this. So we can't say
But if
like,
someone asked specifically, we could tell them.
yeah, why you
what
feel this
what
way.
we feel
Yep.
we could do, but we feel unfavorable, just about generality of
Yeah.
And they do that all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Personally, I would prefer to see the fire truck on special when we can see what we have for free cash, have a better understanding of how the select board and the town administrator are gonna position ARPA funds, and go from there.
I agree.
So we're gonna have who wants to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, we have unfavorable action on Article number 18.
I would second that.
So we have, on Article number 18, we have a motion to accept unfavorable action on a capital request to purchase and equip a new fire truck. What's the name of it? A new fire truck.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Now, how did you word that? We're voting unfavorable.
Unfavorable, yes.
It's the way I heard you. You said favorable, and did I hear?
I know, I said, motion to accept, I'll repeat myself.
I just want to make sure.
Just in case I wasn't clear, motion to accept unfavorable action on Article 18, a capital purchase of a fire truck. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
6-1.
Okay.
Okay,
Aye.
all right. Capital request HVAC replacement at Station 2.
Number 19, right?
This is Article 19. And we talked about this a few times throughout the year with Jessica Chief Rogowski. I'm sorry, I'm confusing HVAC systems. I thought we were talking about the public safety building for a second. We talked to Chief Rogowski about this, and this is going to come out of
The
landfill funds. Do we have a motion on that?
I'll make a motion for favorable action on Article 19.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to accept favorable action on Article 19, capital request, HVAC replacement at Station 2. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 20.
Didn't we do this already?
Yeah.
Well, so what happened, right? This Ruggles Lane, this parking lot should have been paved 4 times back.
Yeah.
And
That's
they
what it
still
seems
haven't
like.
had it done.
So Jessica, can you explain to us what's going on with the Ruggles Lane?
Yes. Excuse me, I just have to
Sure.
remind my fiance that our dog doesn't get food or water in 20 minutes. Okay. So what happens with Ruggles Lane is that we appropriated the money out of ARPA in order to get it done during April vacation. And now that the project has been moved to mid-July, it's gonna be after the new fiscal year. So I recommended to the select board and I recommend to the finance committee that we put it on the town meeting floor to let the voters decide whether it comes out of this landfill account, free up some ARPA money for us, to focus on, kind of making a plan out of the ARPA money instead of using it for different, kind of emergency situations. So, we're gonna put it on the floor for the voters to decide whether we appropriate more money out of this landfill account or, if it's gonna just remain at an ARPA expenditure,
Mm,
so.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
the cost of this was going up, wasn't it? Or
This is,
what-
we've
This
already
is what-
appropriated 50,000, right?
So this is an additional 54,000 on top
54,
of
to
the
bring it to
50.
104,000. Yeah.
Correct.
It's not started yet.
And it's-
Anyway,
We'll see you next year with the Ruggles Lane parking lot.
favorable action on Article.
200,000.
I'll make a motion for favorable action on Article 20.
Okay, I'll second.
Now, so we have a motion and a second to accept favorable action on Article 20, the capital requests of $54,000 for the Ruggles Lane parking lot. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Article 20, this is Article 21. Yeah, Article 21. Article 21, motion, let me see, this is a Chapter 90 grant to see if the town will vote to accept any and all state highway assistance funds authorized by the state legislature approved by. So this is basic, we do this every year, right?
Yeah.
Yep, this is just giving us permission to spend the money and then get reimbursed by the state.
Correct. Motion? Any discussion?
Can I
I wanna
say
put
it?
a- no, go ahead.
You want to make an
No,
amendment?
I was
Remember, it's just a
I don't know how to
recommendation.
do it. What do I say?
You say
I make
make
a
a
motion
motion,
for favorable
Action.
action on Chapter 90 grant, Article 21.
Correct.
Very good.
Give me-
Anyone else want a second, or should I? I'll second.
There we go. So we have a motion and a second to accept favorable action on Article 21, the Chapter 90 grant. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 22, treasurer collector borrowing. This is, again, this is kind of a repetitive article. Basically, to see if the town will authorize the treasurer collector with the approval of the board to borrow money from time to time, anticipation of revenue in a 12-month period. It's something that's on pretty much every annual town meeting. Do we have a motion?
Anybody else
Gotta
want to
split it
stab
up.
at it?
You wanna give us a motion?
We gotta break these new people up.
Oh my God.
They can stumble
I don't know
through
if I
as
can
well. There's no big deal there.
Make a
Sorry,
mo-
well,
I make a motion to pass Article 22.
Favorable action?
Favorable action to pass Article 22, Chapter 44, Section 4, for authorizing the treasurer collector.
Great.
Whoa.
I second
You're
that.
elected.
We got a second over here. So we have a motion and a second to accept favorable action on Article 22, treasurer collector borrowing. All in favor?
Aye.
There we go. All right, we're moving right through. Choose town officers. This is, again, another general thing at every ATM.
Yep.
Gives the select board the authority to choose officers not elected by ballot or appointed. Motion?
Motion for favorable action on Article 22, choose town officers.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to accept favorable action on Article 22, choose town officers. All in favor?
Aye.
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 It's Article 23 though, right?
I'm sorry, Article
Yeah, I was gonna
23,
say.
sorry,
I
I'm,
thought that, I was.
I apologize, you know what, I'm
We've done this
reading,
before.
yeah, here we
Done
go,
this before.
here we go,
It's not
I'm
the
here,
first time for this.
I'm here, I got you over there. Here we go, and we're on to Article 24. Article 24 is sponsored by the Finance Committee, wow. To see if the town will accept the reports of the Selectmen, Finance Committee, School Committee, and any other department or committee to act thereon or take any other action relative to. Do we have a motion?
I have a motion to accept favorable action on Article 24.
I second.
Reports from committee.
There we go. We have a motion and a second to accept favorable action on Article 24, reports from committees. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we're moving. All right, we're on to Article 25.
Yeah, the
Okay.
next couple of articles are citizens petitions, so I
Okay.
think that the finance committee should proceed as you see fit.
Well,
Thank you.
so this is what I'm gonna say on the citizen positions. Has anyone on the finance committee had time to review the citizen petitions?
I have.
Yeah.
You have, okay.
I don't think a lot of them have to do with monetary
No,
situations.
no, I agree with that.
Article 25 could.
Not really, so Article 25?
Yeah,
Changing it to
could be a
a
business,
business,
could be
yeah.
a business, yeah.
I'm curious as
Probably
to
is.
Do we have a
where
map?
that
Do
is.
we have, yeah,
It's
do
upper
we have a
deck.
map?
Upper deck?
Oh,
Upper
it's
deck.
the upper deck?
Oh,
It's not, I think it's the parcel right next to
Oh, the
upper deck, but it's,
And we
In that
could
area.
request to have the sponsor, Richard McDonald, come present. We
he
did-
does have to present it, to the planning board, so you guys could always also, that's another avenue that it has to go through before it does get to the floor, so.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a lot of work for me.
I just wondered where
Mm.
it was
Mm.
and what kind of business is he thinking of putting in there?
I don't think he has to tell us that.
I don't, yeah, I wouldn't get into those details.
As a citizen,
Right, but so from my
Planning board.
position,
yeah.
we don't, like, especially given how much other business that I've been involved with in other communities, people who are bringing business to town, they don't want to talk about what businesses they're bringing to town until,
For competition.
yeah.
Mhm. Understood.
But that's kind of a business area anyways,
Right,
that's why I'm
right.
wondering I wonder where exactly it is up there.
Oh, look, it
We'll have a
looks
map.
like it's on, book 49455, page 38.
Right, it would be, since we have our database online too, it's super easy to find it.
Yeah, you can go right to the registrar of deeds and pull that stuff up. I'll tell you, my thought is on this is, we could always ask for these next few. If we wanted to make a recommendation on the citizens petition, it looks like Mr. Anders here has a lengthy,
Couple of them.
Yeah, I read it.
resolution regarding, some
My question is, what's a
flags.
resolution? What effect does it have, a resolution? It's on
It's
our,
on-
is it on our? Oh, yes, it is an article.
Yeah, it sounds like he just wants to send a letter and saying the town of Barre is favorable towards the
Right.
majority of what he's.
The
Okay.
Indian
State
stuff,
Makes
because
sense.
that goes back so far, and it did
Oh,
belong to the
well,
Indians.
I'm thinking
So,
of,
I can't understand why they're not accepting it.
I don't know.
Although I have never heard the reason why they haven't accepted these things
Oh,
over the
see.
years.
Yeah, it seems like the committee that he's trying to send a letter to is fairly new, only within the last 2 years, and we had a pandemic, so probably has only had about a year to really gather steam, so I think he's just trying to gather support, is all I take.
And I'm not opposed to offering a favorable or unfavorable recommendation for a citizen's petition. Other than, I would say maybe it'd be nice if we could have a conversation with if they want our recommendations, like with Mr. McDonald or Mr. Anders. And, I never see Mr. Lipson around.
No, he's hard the guy to get a hold of.
Let's skip down. Sam, can I ask you a question on your article here? Your citizen's petition? Is that okay? Can I ask you?
Oh, sure, yeah, by the way, what petition are you alluding to?
Huh? Your
You're Article 31.
Article 31. You have a citizen's petition you submitted to amend the code of the town of Barre?
And reads like what? What does it read?
Resolution in support of the town of Barre voting to pass a bylaw regulation that the town or its officers may not engage in the procuring of any loans that would create a life expectancy of the project or item to which the appropriation is
It's like the
related.
fire truck
Yes.
Oh, okay, now,
that we still owe.
now, there's some clarification, or lack of it, is that I brought that petition
Mm-hmm.
when the sewer department asked for up to $6.5 million.
Mhm.
And at that time, it was not allowed. Now, I don't know why this is on this one, unless it's some procedural issue that I'm not aware of. But in fact,
I recall your amendment
yeah.
on,
that's what I'm
at the
thinking.
special town meeting.
Right.
So you did you resubmit this as a?
I did not, I accepted the fact, I spoke to the citizens
Mhm.
at this meeting and tried to explain to them that without doing that, the town would not be fiscally responsible.
Mhm.
And it appeared at that time that they did not approve my amendment, so I don't know why it's here. If it's supposed to be here, God bless us. But if it's not supposed to be here, I don't know why it is.
You didn't talk to the town clerk?
So I'm asking you,
Oh, well, so the town clerk came to me on Thursday with a citizen's petition that was filed under your name
Aha.
with 10 signatures, at least 10 signatures, to put this on the town meeting warrant. So unless somebody's impersonating
oh
you,
no, I wasn't aware that this was going to be. However, I think it's a great idea, and if it's there,
yeah.
It's gonna be there.
If
Well, it's
it's there,
gonna be
it's gonna be
there.
there, and you guys have to make a determination. But it seemed to have followed the previous meeting, the previous special town meeting where we discussed the sewers. So that's,
Understood. Can I offer you a piece of advice on that? So you want a resolution in support of the town of Barre to pass a bylaw regulation that the town officers may not engage procurement of any loans that would exceed the life expectancy of a project or item of which it's appropriated. Well, where is the bylaw? My thought is if you're gonna petition the town to have a bylaw, you should also write the bylaw.
all right.
You know what I'm saying?
I understand. I was not aware this was gonna go forward
Somebody
at
must
this
have.
point.
So, somebody submitted the paper for you.
Well,
I
it's
don't-
on there.
With
Okay.
10 signatures.
So I don't know what they,
You could, on the floor, you could rescind it.
Maybe you should talk to Neil
We
Andrews.
should.
He seems to be busy here.
All right.
so I think it's a good idea if according to parliamentary procedures, you are able to work on this, then let's do it.
Well, no,
I'm not gonna work on it.
You'd be tying the hands of the town, of the selectmen, you'd be tying people's hands.
Sam, this is your petition, right?
Yes,
I'm just saying, just advice.
yes, okay.
All right.
I accept
If
it.
I was gonna submit, so I'm just gonna tell you from my perspective. If I was gonna submit a citizen's petition that says that I want the town to pass a bylaw, I would also write the bylaw. And I would ask the town to adopt this bylaw. Because right now, you're asking the town to adopt a regulation that's not even written, right? As you have this written right here, as I wouldn't be able to offer, myself personally, I can't speak for the other committee members, I wouldn't be able to offer the town a favorable recommendation the way you have it
So
written.
would it be logical, in this situation, it would be logical for you not to find it favorable because it was not procedurally handled appropriately.
Procedure aside, I'm just saying, you want to pass a bylaw there's no bylaw. You didn't write the bylaw. So if the finance committee was to make a motion right now on favorable or unfavorable, I would vote unfavorable.
I think that's logical.
Okay.
I don't know, there's no hard feelings. I was
Yeah,
not
no,
aware.
it's not. I'm just telling you my honest opinion.
No, I was not aware because I had thought it was turned down previously, but for some reason it appeared again. And why it appeared again, I don't know. But you have to do what you need to do in regards to favorable and not favorable.
I don't disagree with your concept.
Yes, okay.
All right.
By the way, my ego was not tarnished.
I wasn't looking to tarnish an eagle. I was trying to be honest with you. I was just saying that, you know, like I said, I agree with the concepts. I'm not sure how that would work with a town bylaw, but I feel like if you are gonna have a or any citizen, whether they sit at this table, not at this table, or anybody that's a voter, taxpayer in town, is going to petition the town at meeting to, you know, dot all the i's, cross all the t's, and come forth with all the information, so that way we can make a logical vote on the bylaw. But since you're here, I mean, I guess we could, let's just, you know, offer a recommendation on Sam's Article 31, 32, 31. Since I've already given an opinion, I guess I'll make a motion that we, an unfavorable action on Article 31.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll be ready with the explanation.
There we
Yeah,
go.
right. Yeah, the explanation will go in the book. Conceptually, it's good, but
It doesn't mean you can't amend, right? I'm not trying to drag town meeting on any longer than it is,
No, I'm
but,
not gonna do anything, I'm not gonna
Okay.
say anything in town meeting. I was as surprised as you are that it appeared,
That's weird.
there's mysteries in this life that you just never know.
This becomes more mysterious.
You just never know.
all those other resolutions.
So, on the other resolutions,
Yeah, read.
I mean, there's a lot of information there, and I'm not, if a committee member wants to make a recommendation, we absolutely can.
No,
You wanted to get away from not making a room?
I do, but I feel like we have time where we could possibly ask Mr. Anders to, if he wants our recommendation to come in.
Well, could he come into the public hearing so he can explain it to the people that are at the public hearing?
That would make
That would
sense.
be good.
You
it
know,
could be,
because I've read it a couple of times and I know what he's getting at.
Oh, no,
I know.
these,
Well, now, what's the
If other
resolution in
people-
all these paragraphs? Which paragraph says what?
It just goes
but
into all the background.
it could be from Mr. Anders. It
And
could
it's
have been a
because of
catch.
that,
I mean, we could just offer no recommendation.
It could have been a.
So he comes forth in the select board meetings.
Yeah.
He has presented this before. If you're looking for like past, if you want to go back and watch,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
he has come to the select board for this.
Mhm.
And I feel like Article 30 in particular needs some like, we would need some legal guidance in that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm not even sure where to begin, because it does have some financial ramifications, but I couldn't even tell you.
the
How that
whole
would work
thing
out.
is about the Indian artifacts.
Not that one.
Well, there could be
Not that one.
artifacts. I'm not sure if they're of Native American descent at 1000 West Street, but I'm sure there's artifacts there.
Because it's a state flag.
Understood.
The state wants to change it.
How would the committee like to proceed on the citizens petition?
Excuse me,
Yes, Ms. Robson.
this amendment or whatever, what you call it, article
Yes.
could have stemmed from Neil Anders following through with these thoughts.
He put your name on it, though. And so I believe,
So my name was on it previously, and it was turned down at the meeting.
okay. Either way, I believe to get an article on a town meeting, you have to submit paperwork, right, with 10 signatures. So whether you submitted that paperwork with 10 signatures or someone on your behalf submitted your paperwork
Yes. Okay.
with 10 signatures, that's how it ended up with the
Okay.
clerk.
All right,
And the clerk,
to the clerk.
I would
Yes.
like
Good.
All right, now.
to explain.
So I think it's.
Or you could
I
rescind
think-
it
I think the
for now, and
concept
then once
is
In
fiscally
explaining,
responsible.
okay.
because
All right,
I
let's,
read it. and it's
So I don't know how you guys want to handle it.
let's do this. So we've tabled, let's just do a quick overview here. We tabled Article 9 and Article 10. I feel like we can offer a motion on those articles, maybe next week at the public hearing. Do you think we'll have the dollar amounts by then?
I know the dollar amount.
Yeah.
What were we waiting on?
But Jean and I are just,
The funding
you know,
source.
finalizing what the funding is and the implications there, but I know the number.
Okay,
the
so we know the numbers, but we don't know the funding.
Right.
The 9 and 10.
Correct. So we table those, so we can either revisit those next week at the public hearing, or worst case,
You can give it to her on town floor.
we can give it to town floor if we want to.
But you have to pay for the.
No, we have to,
removal.
yeah, we have to.
Right. It's
So
just
what
that-
are you looking, where to fund it from? Well, normally they do free cash.
Normally fund it, but we don't have free cash.
Normally we fund it from free cash. This year is exceptionally, they spent a lot more money than usual too, so I don't know if we had a bad winter or whatever,
Yeah,
but,
mild winter.
It was a lot of ice, it was a lot of ice this winter.
Yes.
yeah, it was very icy winter, so they had, you know, a lot of extra staffing hours and whatnot, so I don't even know if we would have been able to swing this from free cash anyways. But, Jean and I we're having some discussions today about funding it off of the recap. And essentially, we just need to figure out what you know, where that will place us at the end with our overall budget. But we still have to fund this
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have to fund it. I'm good with favorable action, it's gonna be funded either way.
Yeah, and whatever.
Or if we can table it, I know we decided earlier to table it, do we wanna revisit this right now?
Yeah.
All right, let's revisit.
Okay.
Let's do it. All right, Article 9, FY 2022, snow removal, OTPT account. Looking for a motion.
Motion for favorable action on Article 9.
All right, and we have favorable, we don't have a second yet.
Second.
There we go. We have a motion and a second to accept favorable action on Article 9, FY 2022, snow removal, OTPT account. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 7-0. On to Article 10.
Motion for favorable action on Article 10.
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second to accept favorable action on Article 10, FY 2022, snow removal expense account. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So now, fast forward, we're gonna go right back. Schools, we're gonna table schools, right? We already, no, we not tabled schools. We made our recommendations on schools.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
Good. Article 25.
Article 25, Article 26, Article 27, Article 28, Article 29. 25, I'm sorry, 24, the zoning. That's 25.
That's
25.
25.
25, I'm gonna do some changes here. So, 28. Article 25, amend the code of the town of Barre. I say we table that.
Yep.
See if we can get better information,
Yeah.
okay? Article 26. I say we table that.
If he could come into the public hearing, I'm sure that the people there, they'd want to know what that is all about.
Absolutely.
What's 26?
Article 26.
Neil Anders.
Article 26
It's
is,
a history lesson.
The flag.
Looks like.
it's,
Is that
Oh,
what-
oh, speaking of the flag.
yes.
It's the Massachusetts
Yeah.
flag.
And it's a resolution. I mean,
Yeah, right.
What does it say about the flag?
Changed. I think it's already been changed.
The what?
I'm like, all right.
Change the current flag and seal of Massachusetts and in support of a new seal and motto for the Commonwealth. I mean,
Didn't-
better reflect our aspirations for harmonious and respectful relations
Oh,
between all
get rid of
people
the
who
sword
now
above,
call-
get
I
rid of
think
the
that-
sword above the
Yeah, I
head.
think that
I like
there's
that.
a, yeah, I think that there's
Okay.
a.
this is basically just
The sword is.
looking for a general consent from town meeting that the town of Barre adopts the resolution in support with the special commission of the seal and motto of the Commonwealth established by resolve of the general court in 2020.
The general court is already.
I know that based off of my understanding of this specific resolution is that the state has created a commission,
Oh.
and as recently as this week, I think they have made
Yeah.
a recommendation to change the state flag, so.
Yeah. So it's kind of irrelevant.
This is just saying Barry
Yeah.
agrees
Barry
with that.
agrees.
Agrees with
Yep.
it, yeah, that's what it's.
Does anybody on the finance committee want to make a favorable or unfavorable recommendation or no recommendation towards article number 26?
No recommendation.
Does anybody want to make a recommendation on article 26?
Want to make a recommendation?
Or do you want to table it?
Well, I'd like to read it more in a way. I'm not sure what any of this is.
Let's table it table it, and then I recommend
But I
table
like
it.
getting rid of the sword over the guy's head,
I don't know enough about it at this point.
but I don't know if that's what this is saying. So table it sounds good.
Okay.
I believe they're looking to replace the flag in its entirety.
Yeah.
Yeah, not just the sword, but the Native American would be off of the flag as well.
Oh,
I don't really disagree with that. I don't agree with that. The Indians helped us out.
yeah.
Um, Article 27,
I'd give that a no.
resolution in support of the town of Barre voting to mandate that the town department heads provide weekly administrative reports to the town administrative republic. I apologize for my trouble. To be published weekly in their entirety without omission, excepting where they would do violate a person's right to privacy. Likewise, committee board heads chairperson's right. I'm not even sure if that's a legally viable resolution.
On table
I think a resolution.
Yeah, you gonna make a motion on that?
I'm familiar with some of the ones from the land.
Yep,
And I know that,
I'm not gonna, but, hear me out, Mr. Lipson, hear me out. I understand that you may, but you're not Neil Anders.
no, but I'm explaining something here. I know that he hired
Yeah,
civil rights attorneys to assist him in any of the articles that he is providing.
mm-hmm,
So that's all I know.
okay, I appreciate that, thank you. I just didn't want you to speak for him, that's all.
No, I wasn't planning. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that he hired competent
No, and some of these articles, some of these resolutions are very well written.
legal representation to do this.
Alright,
And I don't even know if this is the finance department, whether you have the,
we can make a favorable or unfavorable, right, by town code, the finance committee is supposed to make a favorable or unfavorable recommendation for any article that's presented to, town meeting. That's just how the town code is written. And we talked about that at the kickoff meeting, at the beginning of the budget season.
Well, Article 30 wants to spend money, so I would say unfavorable.
Well, it's, Article 27,
Oh, we want to go to 27?
that's what we were on.
Yeah.
Oh,
This
Oh.
would technically be spending
I'm
money
way-
because we
I'm
probably
way
have
past my
to
bedtime.
up the hours of.
Yeah, I mean,
and,
from a financial committee standpoint, I believe, Carrie just said it, it's, you know, the impact of this resolution to the budget could be, I mean, let me ask you this, how many departments provide you with a weekly administrative report right now?
Written, none.
Weekly is a little bit, yeah.
It-
Monthly, I can understand that.
Now
do they
is,
monthly?
No.
Not everybody. I have to
now is
say.
that common practice in a town our size?
From what it's usually like the town administrator comes up with a written report,
Mm-hmm.
and it usually comprises of what's going on in the various departments,
Mhm.
and that's how we've been doing it here.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Now, there would definitely be a financial impact to the town with labor hours, by asking the department heads to, and that's not in the budget. We haven't budgeted for this resolution. With that being said, from a financial standpoint, I would be unfavorable to Article 27.
I'd like to make a motion to vote unfavorable towards Article 27.
I second that.
All right, we have a motion to accept unfavorable action, yep, on Article 27, the citizens petition for requesting weekly administrative reports to the town administrator. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Corey?
No, I'm not opposed.
Okay. All right. 28.
What does 28 say?
28 would be a lot of problems for Jessica.
28 says, resolution in support of town Barre.
Is the warrant open now, Jessica?
The select board has jurisdiction
Yeah,
over.
they decide.
Yeah. You know, on this one might be say, well, I'm not gonna offer a recommendation. What's the law say? It's a law's minimum, right?
Nope, the law actually gives the
Oh.
select board jurisdiction over, they can open it and close it
Yeah.
in one meeting.
Yeah.
Like that's what they did for the special town meeting, they just open it and close it in one meeting. So it gives them full control over,
So he's looking for a resolution to support the town of Barre voting mandate that the town warrant be kept open for no less than 30 consecutive days. Open.
You don't-
I don't think
I don't think,
I mean, you would have everything in the world in there at 30 days.
Yeah, but if it makes too many articles on there, people coming in.
Let's do that.
This is a town meeting.
And you can't make any, like, if you need something done, you can't.
Again, I mean, it kind of goes back to what I said earlier. It's the concept. There might be something there in an overall concept. The length of time seems large, you know.
And it would cost
Oh yeah.
more articles on the warrant, more.
Oh, because it doesn't specify annual town meeting, it doesn't specify special town meeting. No. You want to table that one, or we want to make a motion?
What
Isn't
does
it
it mean when
usually?
you table? What is that?
We can
what does that
go,
mean?
we're not making a recommendation at this point, but we can go back, you know, to make a recommendation.
So in the finance booklet, it's gonna say in there next to it.
No,
Tabled, or
we'll go
it's
back,
gonna say-
we'll look back at these, at the public hearing. We still have 3 weeks before town meeting. So we can,
If any of these gentlemen wanna come to the town meeting, they can.
no, a town meeting, or if they want to come to the public hearing
Public hearing,
and provide additional information,
okay.
Tabling makes sense then.
Yeah.
they can. I mean, we're not offering no recommendation at this point, but,
Good,
yeah.
Yeah.
tabled.
Article 30, another citizen,
29.
29.
You
Did I miss-
can't skip them.
28, 29,
29.
30.
Okay,
Sources and use
In
of
support of
funds,
voting mandate of the
all
town.
pertinent charts, records.
Town plans to be placed on the line of the town website, and they said open source information in a timely fashion, not to exceed one week only at a time. We
That's gonna cost.
we do have we no longer have ClearGov, right? That was what was on the town website before.
Right.
Does the town have the ability with any of the programs that we currently invested in to offer? Like what ClearGov did have. I mean, it was nice as a resident seeing that information.
Right. Yeah, no, we can look back
Plus it
into
had
it.
comparison.
I mean, I do like the concept of transparency. Was there a cost, a financial cost for that?
Yes, yeah, there's a subscription to the software.
Is that substantial cost, or is that, okay.
I think it was substantial enough for them to cancel it. And it was underutilized.
Well, that's
at
the thing,
point.
I think it was, maybe less, there wasn't enough training or whatever,
Yeah.
because people didn't believe in it, so they didn't.
Yeah, there
It's
was
like
no,
asking for a report every week, you know?
right, there was no buy-in to,
Right, no buy-in.
yeah.
Yeah, again, it comes down to, the concept is good,
Yes.
but what's it gonna cost the town
Mm.
to be able to do these things? And this is information that is publicly available through the clerk, correct?
Through any department.
Through any department.
Well,
Okay.
I would say any department has, like, the accountant or the treasurer's
Mhm.
office,
How
or
about
my office.
townspeople?
Right, it's all
Mm,
public
it's Freedom of
records.
Information Act, as long as it's not like executive session.
Right, there would probably need to be some redaction at some point, but.
Mhm.
You can go in
So-
and ask for anything.
You can ask Ellen.
Mhm. All right.
As
Or if
part,
it's accounting things, or talk to
as
Jim,
part of the
because it's all public.
discussions to obtain these signatures, there was talk about many other towns having this capability to see that because of software.
Barry at one point had that capability,
Oh,
and it was online. The funding, before my time on the finance committees, it wasn't utilized, the program wasn't utilized. Usually you can tell on a program like that, how many people click on it, how many people use it. I'm making an assumption here, but my guess is that whoever made the decision to not fund that program anymore, most likely found it was being underutilized and not worth the financial impact of the town. That's what I would like to think is why we don't have it anymore.
I'm unfamiliar.
Yeah, I don't know, but I have used it when I was online, because I think it was online up until like, what, a year ago?
It was before I got here, so it was over 2 years.
Mm. And we had some good information. You could see the impact of each major department prior year. There was charts and colors, you know. It was,
Comparison with other towns.
Forecasted.
yeah, it was the forecast. Yeah, I like the forecast. A tool that I wish we would have in this department, in this committee here, is a forecasting tool.
Because we
Um,
have data, and I would have to print a report off, and then they put it.
Again,
Table?
yeah,
They've got-
either tabled or, I mean, I would say, you know, with these resolutions and these citizens petitions, the concept is good, but there's not enough information. Like, how much is this gonna cost the town? You know, or do we need other positions? I mean, you can't just throw something on the books without having any sort of backup information. And really, in my opinion, before it goes to town meeting, like if somebody wants something like this, there should be the conversation with, you know, the town administrator, you know, the accountant, who's gonna manage this. I mean, right now, the town of Barre doesn't have a dedicated IT person, right? We outsource, you know, it's either managed in-house through your department or it's outsourced. So there's a lot of good ideas, but how these ideas are gonna be funded and implemented, that's the big question. You know, from the finance committee point of view, again, I think we have to, in my opinion, we kinda have to say, I would say that I'd be unfavorable to this the way it's written, as presented, because we don't know the financial costs.
But it's only a resolution. So, you know, we agree with what he's saying there.
Yeah, so
Right?
we can agree with what he says.
Right. But we're not funding anything.
Yeah, no.
So, I mean, to say that we're not interested in having,
And that's the difference between, the fundamental difference between a resolution.
I don't know.
Well,
That's- I gotta
yeah, I
talk to the
think-
lawyer.
Yeah, that's something that Ellen and I have had brief conversations about, and neither of us really understand the implications of a resolution, so.
Yeah. See, a resolution to me sounds like you're trying to resolve something.
Well, to me, it's just you're putting it forward. So, but anyway, next.
So you wanna table
So,
it?
yeah,
Let's
are
get
we
it.
just tabling all of these?
Yeah, you guys wanna just?
Can I make a motion to table all of the rest of?
Yeah,
these?
absolutely.
I'd like to make a motion to table all of the rest of these article resolutions.
All right, we have a motion to table the rest. All in favor? Oh, we have a
So
second?
that's-
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we will, anything else? Any further discussion? think we're good. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
All in favor?
I
Aye. Great.